पदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेशा गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वंचाकल्पतरुभ्यस्य कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि श्री गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायण नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। श्रीमतां स्वकथा कृष्णा पुण्यश्रवण कीर्तनं हृद्यन्तस्तु अभद्राणि विदुनोति सुहृत्सतां नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। सर्वशास्त्रादि पीयूष सर्ववैदिक सत्फल सर्वसिद्धांत रत्नाद्य सर्वलोकैक दृक्प्रद सर्वभागवत प्राण श्रीमद्भागवतो प्रभु कलिदंतोतितादित्य श्रीकृष्ण परिवर्तिता परमानंद पाथाय प्रेम वर्ष अक्षराय ते सर्वद सर्वसेवाय श्रीकृष्णाय नमोस्तुते। मद एक बंधु मद संगेन मद गुरुन् मन महाधन मन निष्ठारक मन भाग्य मद आनंद नमोस्तुते। असाधु साधु तादा इन अति नीच ताकरा हा नाम मुंचा कदाचिन्मां प्रेम न हृत कंथयो स्फुरः। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवताम की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। Hare Krishna. So thank you all so much for joining. So we are in the fourth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter number 24. Right, 424. The chapter is titled Chanting the Song Sung by Lord Shiva. So this is basically the famous Rudra Geet that we are actually studying in this chapter. Right? So we have now started the Rudra Geet. The first part of this chapter is just setting the scene where Lord Shiva is going to start speaking the Rudra Gita. So a quick overview of the storyline so far is basically we saw that how in the previous chapter we saw how Prithu Maharaj he actually retired and how he actually gave up his body, and then we saw how his wife Archi followed Prithu and how they both attained Vaikuntha. So the entire journey of Prithu Maharaj, right? So we have been reading almost 9 chapters of Prithu Maharaj, and the final part of his life where he's going to finally enter Vaikuntha. We read that part, and then it is described after Prithu Maharaj, left. Then his son Vijitsava, who was the eldest son, he actually became the king, and we know this Vijitsava from the 100 horse sacrifices, right? When Indra was coming again and again to steal the horse, it was this son Vijitsava who was going and one way trying to get the horse back, right? So Vijitsava, so he actually became the next king. But it is described that we read that how Vijitsava wasn't interested in all these, because when someone is a king, then he has to say, okay, you're so and so punishment. You have to do this. And he, because he was so compassionate, he did not like this whole task of, okay, I have to punish this person. I have to say this is yours. So because that, he simply retired, right? Right. So he just made a plea that I'm going for a long sacrifice. and then he actually retired. And then it's also described then the remaining sons, right? They actually were ruling then, and then we read a little bit of the lineage, right? And then there was a son named Havirdhana, and Havirdhana got married to a lady known Havirdhani. And it's always interesting to think how that happened. Like, how can someone marry a daughter by, I mean, imagine someone's wife is just like the E, like Havirdhana is getting married to Havirdhani. I don't know how that happens, but they got married and there were 6 sons. And then the first one is Bharisat. So from Bharisat, the lineage is going to continue, right? And that's going to be like Bharisat and then his sons, Prachetas, right? So that is going to be the rest of the fourth canto. The entire fourth canto, we are going to discuss about Bharisat and these Prachetas, right? So now Bharisat, as soon as we read about Bharisat, the first point that was mentioned, that he was a Prajapati, right? And he was expert in performing Karma Kanda rituals, right? This is an important point because this is how Narad Muni comes later and says, like, he gives his mercy to Bharisat, right? Which will be, and because he is so expert at performing all the sacrifices, and we read in that purport, like we read in that section that how it is described, the sacrifices used to continuously happen in his kingdom. It was non-stop. One sacrifice over, another sacrifice. And Prabhupada uses this point to make the point that we should do Sankirtan Yajna just like that. It should continuously go on. There should be no stop of Sankirtan. Every place, every city, every town, all around the world, non-stop Harinam Sankirtan has to go on. Right? So because Bharisat was so expert at performing these Karmakanda sacrifices, then his name became Prachini Bhari. So henceforth, Bharisat will actually be known as Prachini Bhari. And then this on Brahmaji himself came and told Prachini Bhari, you should get married to Shatadruti. So Shatadruti is described as the daughter of the ocean, right? And then we read about the beauty of Shatadruti, that she was so beautiful that when the fire sacrifice was going on, right, and they were going around the fire, Agni Dev himself was actually captivated by the beauty of Shatadruti. So we read that part, and then described how Prachini Bhari and Shatadruti, they had 10 sons known as the Prachetas. Right? And then Prachini Bhari actually tells his sons, please create a progeny, right? You actually continue the dynasty, and we see that this is, we are reading from the Brahmaji, his descendants and so on. So now the main task is create progeny, populate this earth by creating progeny. Right? So the Prachita said, okay, we will do it. You have given us instruction, we will procreate, but for that first we have to perform austerities. And then they walk towards the west, and then they actually perform austerities. 10,000 year austerities they went to perform. Right? Now from text number 15 we'll start reading. Right? So they entered the ocean to perform 10,000 years of austerities and worship the Supreme Lord. From 15 onwards we'll continue our discussion. Okay. Any questions or any points so far? Okay with the flow of the Bhagavatam? Okay, should we continue? So, text number 15, right? So, they have gone, Prachitas have gone to perform this 10,000 year austerity. They have entered the ocean. Now, let's see what happens. So, in the purport of text 14, Prabhupada makes a point that sometimes people go to the Himalayas to perform austerities, but sometimes they go to the ocean. So, Prachitas, they actually decided to go to the depth of the ocean. And then he actually makes a point, if one achieves the favor of Supreme Lord, he has finished all kinds of austerities. And And if he does not attain devotional service, then what is the use of all his austerities? Prabhupada often quotes this in his lectures also. That, what is the use of all your austerities if your austerities is not leading to bhakti, to devotional service? And if you're already doing bhakti, then what is the use of any other kind of austerity which is not favorable to bhakti? Right? So that's the point that Prabhupada says. And then further he actually says that the essence of everything comes to the point of chanting the holy name. And he quotes this verse, Aho bata swapachito tu gharyan yad jivagre vartate nama tubhyam. Right? And this comes in the third canto, 33 chapter, text number 7, where Devahuti is actually saying, Devahuti says that oh, those who are chanting the holy name of the Lord, on the tongue if the holy name is appearing, those personalities have already performed all kinds of austerities. They have already taken bath in all kinds of holy places. Everything, all these things they have already done because they have come to the perfect stage of chanting the holy name. And swapachatu tu garyan. And the ones who are chanting the holy name, they are so glorious that even without getting purified by other rituals, they are qualified to perform fire sacrifices. Imagine, like in the Vedic system, unless someone is a Brahmana, then, and a qualified Brahmana, he can perform sacrifice. But here the point is said that just by chanting the holy name means you have already done all these previous needs. Therefore, you are qualified to perform sacrifice. So Prabhupada talks about this. So chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra is the highest perfectional stage. Therefore, in Kali Yuga, if a person does not take advantage of chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, which is actually the great concession for all fallen beings, then he is very much in Maya. Actually, if you think about it, in Kali Yuga, what is our ability? What kind of austerities can we perform? We are not qualified for anything, and the only thing is Hare Krishna Mahamantra. It is Mahaprabhu's special mercy. He says, in Kali Yuga, everyone is so fallen. Let me give them the most easiest process. All they have to do, sit and chant. So it is a great concession for all fallen human beings, right? And if we don't, we have a very, very special Hasti Ekad Mahatguna, very special blessing in Kali Yuga. And if we don't take that, then certainly we are entrapped by Maya. Okay, text number 15.
Yad uktam pati drishtena girishena prasidata tad dhyayanto japantascha pujayantascha samyata.
When all the sons of Prachinibari left home to execute austerities, they met Lord Shiva, who out of great mercy instructed them about the absolute truth. All the sons of Prachinabarhi meditated upon the instructions, chanting and worshipping them with great care and attention.
Thank you. So basically you say Drishtena Girishena. Girisha, like that's a very common word, right? You find people from India with the name Girisha. Girisha means Lord Shiva, right? So while they were actually walking to the ocean, Drishtena, they saw who? Girishena, Lord Shiva himself, right? And then here it says Prasidata, Lord Shiva being very much satisfied with them. And why did Lord Shiva be satisfied with them? So we'll read that as the next part. And then here it says Dhyayanta, Japanta, Pujayanta. Right? So Lord Shiva was very much satisfied and he gave them knowledge. He chanted the mantra to worship the Lord, the absolute truth. And they actually meditate on this mantra. They chanted this mantra and they worshipped the Lord through this mantra. And Samayata, with great control, they did this. Right? So, yeah. Then the purport Prabhupada says, to perform austerities, right, one has to be guided by a spiritual master. So here Prabhupada is talking of the importance of a spiritual master. Yes, they went to perform 10,000 years austerities. But what kind of austerities? How to perform austerities? And that is like, what is the blessing of the Guru Parampara? The Guru Parampara carries the instructions to engage in bhakti. It carries the mood. In what mood are we chanting the Hare Krishna Mantra? And it carries the knowledge, right? So that's what the Guru is giving us. He's giving us the knowledge, right? Sambandha Gyan. He's giving the process, Abhideya. He gives the Prayojana and also the final mood what mood you should actually worship. Right? So that's what the spiritual, and without these things, how can we perform any austerity? So Prabhupada focuses importance of a spiritual master, and here Lord Shiva, out of his kindness, he became the guru for these prachetas. Right? And again, we see Prabhupada making the point. What is the secret of success in our spiritual life? Which is the verse that Prabhupada frequently quotes. Anyone knows?
Is it Tasmad Guru Prapadeta?
That is one. Yes, that's also Prabhupada frequently quotes. But the secret of success, he quotes this verse. Yasya deve para bhaktir yatha deve tatha guru tasya katita yartha prakashante mahatmana. One who has implicit faith in both Guru and Krishna. Only to him all the imports of the Vedic Shastra is actually revealed to such a person. Right? Yasya deve para bhaktir. So here also Prabhupada says, this is the secret of success. What is it? That once you have a bona fide spiritual master, you accept the instructions of the spiritual master as one's life and soul. And when we accept that, then guarantees that is the secret of success. Right? Prabhupada himself quotes the verse from Bhagavad Gita 2:41, Vyavasatmika buddhir eke he kurunandana. And Prabhupada actually says that when he was reading that verse, and in the commentary, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur actually quotes, what's the last verse of the of Guru Ashtakam?
Yasya prasad.
Yasya.
Yasya prasada, Bhagavad prasada, yasya prasada, nagati kutopi, right? So he actually makes a point that when Prabhupada says, when I read that Vyavasatmika Buddhi, the one pointed attention of a disciple is to accept the spiritual master instructions as one life and soul, and this is the only way we can please Krishna. Yesterday, right? Only way, Yasya prasada, Bhagavad prasada, right? Yasya prasada, Bhagavad prasada. Only way we can please Krishna. Then he said, okay, my spiritual master told me I have to take this message to the Western countries. And that became Prabhupada's life. And that is the secret of success. And even later, if you see Prabhupada, we hear him make this point. There's a famous lecture in Los Angeles. And he says, there is no credit for me. The only point is I accepted the instructions of my spiritual master. And hence, this Krishna conscious movement has spread all around the world. Right? So credit of success, the real secret of success is to follow the instructions of the spiritual master. Right? And then we read that beautiful point where it's saying, after being initiated and receiving the orders of spiritual master, the disciple should unhesitatingly think about the instructions of the spiritual master and should not allow him to be disturbed by anything else. Right? After being initiated, receiving orders from the Guru, disciple should unhesitatingly, right, without any hesitation, just focus on those instructions. And that's it. That should become his life. Should not get disturbed by this and that. Just be focused on that point. Right? That is the secret of success. Okay, next verse. So we actually quickly read through 16, 17 also last time we did the translations, but now Vidura will ask more questions. Right? I mean, we see as soon as I okay, Lord Shiva said this, and then Prachetas meditated, worshipped the Lord through this, and immediately Vidura is like, wow, what is that? I also want to know. So here he will ask questions, asking Maitreya Rishi to speak about the Rudra Gita. What instructions Lord Shiva gave to the Prachetas. Okay, please continue. 16.
Vidura uvacha prachetasam giritrena yathasit pati sangamaha yad utaha harachitas tanno brahman vadartavat.
Hare Krishna, translation. Vidura asked Maitreya, my dear Brahmana, why did the Prachetas meet Lord Shiva on the way? Please tell me how the meeting happened, how Lord Shiva became very pleased with them, and how he instructed them. Certainly such talks are important, and I wish that you please be merciful upon me and describe them.
Yes. So basically, Vidura is actually saying, Brahmana, oh great Brahmana, oh Maitreya Rishi, how did the Prachetas, Yatha, meet Lord Shiva on the road? Sangamaha uta aharaha. How did the meeting happen? How Lord Shiva became Pritaha, pleased, and how he instructed them. Vada Arthavat. Please, Vada means speak. Please speak to this Arthavat with clear meaning so that I can understand. Right? So please explain all this. I'm very curious to know. And Prabhupada here in the purport talks about the importance of eagerness and curiosity when we are studying Srimad Bhagavatam. When we are studying Srimad Bhagavatam, when we are reading each part and we are eager, okay, this happened, what next? And we approach Bhagavatam with that eagerness, with that curiosity, what is happening, how Vidura, every moment we see, as soon as there's a section, Vidura says, wait, don't go ahead. Let's discuss this in detail, right? That level of eagerness, and Prabhupada says that should be our eagerness when we are studying Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay, next verse, 17.
Sangama kalus viprashe shive neha sharirinam durlabho munayo dhadyur asangaryam abhipsitam.
Translation, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The great sage Vidura continued, O best of the Brahmanas, it is very difficult for living entities engaged within this material body to have personal contact with Lord Shiva. Even great sages who have no material attachments do not contact him, despite their always being absorbed in meditation to attain his personal contact. Hare Krishna.
Okay. So here it basically says that Vidura is actually saying further, he says, Vipra Rishi, O best of the Brahmanas, Maitreya Rishi. And we see that again, between the listener and the speaker, how much there is a mood of awe and reverence there. That Vidura is actually so much respect. He's saying, oh, you are the best of the Brahmanas. You are giving such transcendental wisdom. So with great respect, he's saying. Then he says, Iha Sharirinam. In this world, those who have this material body, dullabha, it is very, very rare for them to actually see Lord Shiva. Munaya Dadyu, even great sages, when they are engaged in meditation for so many years or lifetimes, asangat, and being detached from everything else, abhistam, they desire to meet Lord Shiva, but still that meeting does not happen. Then how is it? Like, if someone says, okay, why don't you go and meet Lord Shiva? What will be your first point? Like, is it easy? I can perform austerity for so long. Still, is there a chance I can meet Lord Shiva? But here for the Prachetas, they didn't even worship Lord Shiva. They were just going to perform austerity and Lord Shiva appeared to them. So naturally Vidura is curious that how is it that Lord Shiva appeared? It is so difficult for anyone to see Lord Shiva. Right? And Prabhupada here in purport explains, he says Lord Shiva does not incarnate himself unless there is a very special reason. It's not that we are walking down the street and all of a sudden say, hey, Lord Shiva, you're here. It doesn't happen like that. Right? But for Prachetas it happened. And hence Prabhupada is saying, he does not incarnate himself unless there is a special reason. And Prabhupada gives an example. And he says when in our history, a few centuries before, when Buddha actually appeared, then he actually one way rejected the Vedas. And he had the purpose of preaching ahimsa. But after that, Lord Shiva, the Supreme Person, Krishna himself ordered Lord Shiva. And he actually said, you go. Mayavadam asashastram prachannam bodham uchate maeva vihitam devi kalo brahmana murtina. So Lord Krishna told Shiva, you go, you preach, you bring back the Vedas. The Vedas is the basis of everything that we do. The Shastra is the basis. Therefore, you bring back the Vedas. And then Lord Shiva speaking to Parvati is actually saying, Mayavadam asashastram. I'll bring back the Vedas, but I'll bring it in a way, in a covered way. I will actually preach Mayavadi. Mayavadi is asashastram. So it's not really the essence of the Shastra. It is asat, right? Asat Shastra. Prachanna bodham uchate, right? And why am I doing this? To eradicate the Buddhist philosophy. Mayeva vihitam dehi, right? Kalo brahmana murtina. I will come as a brahmana in this age of Kali Yuga, and I will actually preach Mayavadi. So Prabhupada is saying this because at that time Lord Shiva has a very special mission. Therefore, he came as Adi Shankaracharya to actually preach this. So he wanted, his goal was to bring Vedas back, right? But at that time, people had just rejected the Vedas. So how could he actually bring the highest essence of the Vedas back? Therefore, what he did, he, in a very expert way, he actually said, okay, Buddhism means voidism, right? Now, actually, the Vedas, they say that finally, that everything is just one, right? Everything is one. You just have to merge into the absolute. And that way, he actually, whole point is, actually, if you see the Vedas, what are Acharyas try to explain? See, the problem is spiritual reality is unchanging. Material world, everything is changing. How do you justify the material changing and the spiritual world? If everything is emanating from the spiritual reality, how is the material world, everything changing? So, Buddha philosophy is, just neglect everything. Just let's talk of ahimsa, right? We don't neglect the spiritual reality. Everything is Maya, everything is void, neglect everything. But what did Adi Shankaracharya do? He came and he said, well, what you're saying void is actually some spiritual essence. And then everything in this material world is actually mithya. Right? Brahma Satya, Jagat Mithya. So that's what he brought it. Right? So yes, that is a spiritual. It's all void. What you're saying void is that oneness. And this material world, everything is Maya. So, right. So in that way, he actually brought back the Vedas. So that was the mission assigned by the Lord himself, right? And here, and then further, Prabhupada actually makes the point. So at that time, there was a need for the Mayavad to actually bring back the authority of the Vedas. But now, there is no need. It was Krishna's plan himself that, Shankaracharya and then the 4 acharyas for the 4 paramparas, they actually appeared, right? So we have Nimbaka Swami, Vishnu Swami, Madhvacharya, Ramacharya. 4 acharyas, 4 sampradayas. They came back and then they defeated Mayavadi and established the foundation of our Vedic personal philosophy. Right? So that's what, and then hence Prabhupada says, so there is no need of actually to, discuss Mayavad. That was a particular reason at that time. Now there is no reason. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually, what did he do? He neglected the Buddhists. He actually, rejected the Buddhist philosophy. He rejected Mayavadi philosophy. And he actually made the point where he said, Mayavadi Krishna Aparadhi. Right? Mayavadi, Krishna Aparadhi. The Mayavadi, they are actually denying the beautiful form of the Lord. This is actually an aparad. So anyone who is actually practicing Mayavad is actually, going away from Krishna. Going away from Krishna. Right? So that's the point. Therefore, Prabhupada says, therefore, that is spiritual signal only after one accepts the philosophy of Bhagavad Gita that actually culminates in surrendering unto the Lord. Right? So that's the point. Okay. So why is Prabhupada talk about? Because he's making the point that Lord Shiva, whenever he appears, has a particular mission that he has. And in that case, this is the example how the Lord Shiva is coming for a very special mission to re-establish the Vedas when Buddha had just rejected the Vedas. So such a special mission. So how is Lord Shiva now appearing here without any reason? Just, just the Prachita, just meeting them on the road. How is that possible? Right? Okay. Is there a question?
We just want to be clear about this Mayavadi philosophy. So you said that they say that in this material world, everything is Maya, which is kind of true. This material world is Krishna's material energy, but they do the aparadh of considering Krishna also has having material body, right? Not he denied the spiritual form.
To your first point, Brahma Satya Jagat Mithya. Right. So they say everything in this world is false. Like what we say, that is a difference. Is everything false here? Is everything false in this material world?
It's temporary. It's not
It's
false.
temporary.
Yeah.
That's the difference. right? It is temporary, it is not false, and hence anything in this material world can be used in Krishna service.
Mhm.
You know, for them everything is false, so reject everything. You know, so that is one key element, that they say Jagat is mithya. We say Jagat is temporary, but everything in this material world can be used in Krishna service. And as soon as it is actually used in Krishna service, that itself becomes real because it becomes spiritual. That is one point of understanding of material world. Then they say finally everything is just the energy, that oneness. Right? There is some spiritual reality, but it's just Brahman. Therefore, our goal is to reject everything in material world, go enter the Brahman. Right? That is the highest. And because they say everything is Brahman, they say when Krishna appears, avatar comes, that is just a manifestation of Shuddha Sattva, goodness. They say when Krishna comes, his body is actually a manifestation of goodness. You know, there is no passion or ignorance in that. But that's not true. Krishna is the source of the three modes of material nature. Even goodness is actually material. And that form of Krishna is actually Satchid Ananda Vigraha. That is the real form of the spiritual world. And our goal is to meditate on that form and go back and serve that form of the Lord. So, see, if you see in one more point, I'll say, like if you see Shankaracharya one way denied the mood of service. You know, because he said our goal is we just merge. So there is no question of seva, right? That's our goal. You just become one with that. So if you see all the other four acharyas who came after Shankaracharya, their mood was to re-establish the mood of seva, because seva is the eternal nature of every jiva. The constant, like in Bhagavad Gita introduction, Prabhupada makes the point. The constitutional nature of every living entity is to serve. And Adi Shankaracharya has denied that constitutional nature of every jiva. You know. And hence all these four acharyas, they preach like either Dvaita Dvaita or Vishiddha Dvaita, all these four variants, but in essence they are making the point that we are related to Krishna, and that relationship is that of service to master. You know, so that's okay. Okay. So we'll yes, Lavang Manjari Mati.
Prabhu. Yeah, can you also explain, what is the difference between the Ramanujacharya philosophy and Madhvacharya philosophy, please?
Actually, if you see, yeah, I mean, that's like a whole different section where we'll talk of Vishishta Advaita and Dvaita philosophy. Sorry. That's like a whole to understand. But see, if you see, as the main point is, there is Jiva, there is Prakriti, and there is Bhagavan. Right? So there's Vas, living entity, there is the material world, and there is the Lord Himself. Now, Shankaracharya is material world is illusion. These two are one. Only because we have forgotten who we are thinking we are separate. As soon as you wake up, then you see that Jiva and Bhagavan are one. So that's the understanding. Now, if you see all these acharyas, between these three aspects, Prakriti, Jiva and Bhagavan, they have actually said we have to establish a difference here. Right? We have to establish a difference. Now, if you see Madhvacharya, he actually says between Jiva and Lord, completely different. Dvaita, they are two separate aspects. They are completely different, because he was so strong on the point that he said like, no, don't talk of any similarity. Because he came with that mood of smashing Shankaracharya's philosophy. So he said, don't talk of similarity. We are conditioned. The Lord is beyond all conditioning. He is the supreme source. Therefore, he talked of Dvaita. Right? Ramacharya, he talked of the Vishishta Advaita. Right? He actually says, yes, it is one, but there is a difference. That is that Vishishta, that Vishesha. And what is that? That the Lord is, yes, we are also Satchitananda, Lord is Satchitananda, but the Lord is infinite Satchitananda. He will never come under the influence of Maya. We are Satchitananda, but we are so tiny that we can come under the influence of Maya. Right? So that's just briefly I mentioned the difference. But the whole point, all these four acharyas, their philosophy is kind of very similar, just a different way of presenting the difference between the jiva and the Lord. So quantitatively difference, qualitatively one. Right? And then Vishnu Swami was Beda, right? And then Mahaprabhu came, he gave the essence of all these philosophies. Therefore, if you see in Mayapur, you go to a temple established Bhakti Sansri Thakur, he established all these four acharyas. If you see in that beautiful temple, it's like a round temple. Every side you go, there's one of these acharyas. And Mahaprabhu, actually, Bhaktivinoda Thakur makes a point. Mahaprabhu took two aspects of our philosophy from each one of the four acharyas. So, one way we say these four acharyas, they established the pillars, right? The pillars of a house. And then Mahaprabhu came and he gave the structure based on these four pillars, and then he took it above and gave us the highest perfection of Radha Krishna. Right? So that's why Mahaprabhu's, when he appeared, if you see Mahaprabhu, he actually, when he went to South India tour, he met the Tattvavadis, he met the followers of Madhvacharya. Actually, it is said that when Mahaprabhu was in Vrindavan, the followers of Madhvacharya, the followers of Ramacharya, the followers of Vishnu Swami, everyone were there, everyone were influenced by the teachings of Mahaprabhu. Like we know about Vallabhacharya. Vallabhacharya is a descendant of Vishnu Swami line. And he was actually influenced by the teachings of Mahaprabhu. Right? He actually took initiation from Gadadhar Pandit. So you see, when Mahaprabhu came, he actually got all these four sampradayas under one umbrella. And he presented that as Achintya Bheda Abheda Tattva. And he said, everyone, our main focus is chant the name of the Lord. Chant the name of the Lord. Right? And that's how he unified all different sampradayas, brought them under one umbrella. Okay, so anyway, this we can deviate, and this itself will be a whole class. But let's continue. So now Vidura has asked the question about Lord Shiva. There's one more verse where he'll ask the question, and then we'll see the answer. So 18.
Atmaramopi yastvasya lokakalpasya radhase shaktya yukto vicharanti ghoraya bhagavan bhavaha. Ravanga Manji Mataji.
Yeah. Hare Krishna Mataji Prabhuji. Lord Shiva, the most powerful demigod, second only to Lord Vishnu, is self-sufficient. Although he has nothing to aspire for in the material world, for the benefit of those in the material world, he is always busily engaged everywhere and is accompanied by his dangerous energies like the goddess Kali and the goddess Durga. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay. So in this verse, like Prabhupada talks a lot about Lord Shiva, like the main point here it says Atma Rama. The Lord Shiva is self-satisfied, right? And but although api, yeah, asya loka kalpasya, right? Basically nothing to aspire for in the material world, but yet to help people acquire material benefit, he manifests himself. Shaktya yukta vicharati, right? Radhase means to help, for the matter of helping. Shaktya means potency. Yukta engages. Vicharati ghoraya, very dangerous. Lord Shiva. So basically here it says Lord Shiva himself is self-satisfied. Self-satisfied means one way he has nothing to do with this material world, but yet he actually engages his own energies. Why? Because people in this material world want material things and they don't want to perform too much austerity. So Lord Shiva takes that role where he becomes Ashitosh, and he actually very easily reciprocates with those who want material things, right? So many stories of the famous demon, what's his name? Vrikrasura. Right? You wanted something, you just like you serve Lord Shiva for material benediction, very easily he is pleased. So even though he is Atma Rama and he has nothing to do with this material world, yet he actually engages his energies, which are called Ghoraya, very dangerous in this material world. So Prabhupada explains this. He says Lord Shiva is actually greatest of all devotees. When we say Atma Rama, Atma Ramascha Muneyo, right? We know Vaishnavam Yatha Shambhu, right? He's the best of all devotees, and hence he's one of the 12 Mahajans. Bhagavatam 6th canto established 12 Mahajans. He's one of the 12 Mahajans, and then it is he himself has a Sampradaya. So we actually recently just talked about the Sampradaya. Talked of the Vishnu Swami Sampradaya. So the Sampradaya coming from Lord Shiva, Rudra Sampradaya, the Acharya being Vishnu Swami. So, and then from the same line is Vallabhacharya. So if you see these days, I'm sure everyone must be familiar with the Vallabhacharya. Pushti Marg, they call themselves Pushti Marg. That is in Rudra, in this line of Rudra, right? So Prabhupada is glorifying that how there's a whole Vaishnava Sampradaya coming from Lord Shiva. Then he actually said, even when Lord Shiva came as Shankaracharya, how did he conclude his teachings? He says, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Mudamate. How long will you be engaged in the jugglery of all these words? Just worship Govinda, worship Govinda, worship Govinda. So Prabhupada used to often quote this. He says he concluded with this point. Why don't you see the conclusion of Shankaracharya? He actually said, worship Govinda. And he said 3 times. And then how do the followers of Shankaracharya explain this? They say, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Mudamate. Mudamate means Shankaracharya is saying, oh, foolish people, just worship Govinda. And how do the followers interpret this? They say, those who are foolish, they should worship Govinda. They could totally switch the meaning because they don't want to worship Krishna, they don't want to surrender to Krishna. Right? But this is what Adi Shankara, because he's a great devotee, how could he resist talking of the glories of Lord Shiva? Right? Then the next point is Prabhupada talks of this Shaktya Ghoraya. Why does he say that Lord Shiva engages dangerous energies? And in that relationship, Prabhupada talks about Durga and Kali. Right? Durga and Kali are again energies of the Lord Shiva, and they kill so many demons, and sometimes Kali gets so angry that indiscriminately she kills. Right? I remember once we had gone to Mayapur, and it was during that time there was some big Durga Puja going on. So we were going all around in Mayapur, and everywhere we had on the roads big tents with huge deity of Kali, and then she has her step on Lord Shiva. She's stepping on Lord Shiva, and the whole point that she's so indiscriminately killing that Lord Shiva himself had to come and say, stop, please stop killing. Right? So his own energies are one way so dangerous that they just go. And here Prabhupada says with the khadga, the chopper in the hand, she just goes and indiscriminately kills. And he also says all these great wars are a symbolic representation of Kali's devastation of asuras. Right? So this is why this verse says his dangerous energies are actually everywhere. Right? So Lord Shiva's duty is very dangerous because he has to employ the energy of goddess Kali or Durga. Right? And also we know how Lord Shiva is in charge of the annihilation. Right? So for that also, annihilation means an energy that's dangerous, that's going to annihilate this entire world. Right? So therefore the word dangerous has been used. Right? And then Prabhupada here, he concludes by saying how the devotees of Lord Shiva, they actually get a lot of material facilities. Right? Because they worship the Lord Shiva, they say, please give me nice house, nice business. And Lord Shiva says, okay, that's what you want, take it, don't disturb me. But the followers of Vishnu, Prabhupada says, or worshipper of Vishnu gradually becomes poorer in material possessions because Lord Vishnu does not trick his devotees into becoming materially engaged by positions. Right? This is actually in the 10th canto, the conversation between Yudhishthira Maharaj and Narada, when Yudhishthira Maharaj asked Narada, why is it I see the followers of Lord Shiva are so rich and the followers of Lord Vishnu, who is the husband of the goddess of fortune, is actually they are poor. Right? So do you want to be followers of Vishnu or Shiva? Vishnu may take away all your health. Do you still want to worship him? Yes. Because why? Because Vishnu knows what is the best for us. And everything he does is for us to finally get out of this material world and come and experience the sweetness of Lord Shri Krishna's beauty, his name, his fame, his glory. So everything Krishna does is just to increase our devotion to him. So in that way, sometimes Vishnu may take things away. Right? But that taking away is just for us to get purified. Right? And then also Prabhupada says, dangerous also because Lord Shiva is in charge of the Tamogun. right? The mode of ignorance. Therefore, his potency Durga is keeping all living entities in the mode of darkness. And therefore, this is all the dangerous potencies of Lord Shiva. So, why is Vidura making this point? Because he's saying that Lord Shiva himself is Atmaram, great devotee, yet he actually gets involved in this world through his dangerous energy. But Lord Shiva coming in front of the Prachetas, he himself appearing is, I cannot understand why he would appear. So you please explain that to me. Okay. So now we'll see what Maitreya Rishi answers in text number 19. Everyone okay? Yes? Okay, text 19.
Maitreya uvacha prachetasa piturvakyam shirasadaya sadhavaha disham pratichim prayayus tapasyadrita chetasaha.
Hare Krishna. The great sage Maitreya continued, My dear Vidura, because of their pious nature, all the sons of Prachina Barhi very seriously accepted the words of their father with heart and soul. And with these words on their heads, they went toward the west to execute their father's order. Hare Krishna.
So basically here, Maitreya is continuing and saying that Prachetas Adya Vakyam Shirasa. Shirasa means on the head. They accepted the words of their father on their head. That basically means they said, yes, Father, you want us to procreate? Yes, we will do it. So just on the order of the father, right? And because they were all sadhus, sadhavaha, all pious, they actually went in the western direction and tapasi adrita chesa, accepting seriously austerities in the heart. They said, yes, our Lord, our Father gave us this instruction. We are accepting those instructions. So Prabhupada in this purport is actually making the point. He stresses on this point. He says the duty of a father, a king, and a guru is actually to actually regulate the subordinate, give instructions to the subordinate that finally they will become pure devotees of the Lord. Right? That is the role, because the father, king, and guru have such important responsibility. So all their instructions should be so that the disciples can actually develop their devotion to Krishna, become unalloyed devotees. And what is the duty of the subordinates? They should obey the orders perfectly and in a disciplined way. So here we are seeing that how the Prachetas, they accepted how seriously they took the instructions of the father, right? That they were willing to perform 10,000 year sacrifice. And this shows, why is this verse actually said? This shows actually the nature of the Prachetas. Because finally we still have to Maitreya Rishi has to answer the question, why did Lord Shiva just come out of his own free will? So now he's going to talk of the qualities of the Pracheta that attracted Shiva to just come and right in front of them. So here, what are the two qualities we read? First, they accepted the instructions of the father, right, on their head. Second, they were sadhava. They were actually pious and well behaved. Further, we'll read. Okay, next, text 20.
Sasamudram upavistirnam apashyan sumahatsarah mahan mana iva swacham prasana shalila shayam. Mona Mataji, do you want to read? Mataji, we can't hear you for some reason. The volume is low.
Okay, Mataji, Hare Krishna. I think now
Yes.
you can hear me.
Yes,
I was
yes.
wearing headphones. Mataji, I was trying to find where we are. This is my first class, so I still could not figure out like on which
Okay.
chapter, which verse we are on.
So, fourth canto, Mataji. If you see fourth canto, there are two books, part 1, part 2. So, part
Right.
2, and then chapter number 24.
24. Okay. 24 verse 20, right?
Verse 20, yes.
Okay. So is this the creation of fourth order?
No, the chapter is titled Chanting the Song Sung by Lord Shiva.
Okay. Sorry, Prabhu. Let me just go to that chapter quickly.
You are in the fourth canto?
Fourth canto, yes, Prabhu. And
Chapter 24.
chapter 24, yes. Now I'm there. And verse 20, I just need to get to the verse 20. Sorry, Prabhu. Bear with
That's
me.
fine.
Okay. Sa samudram upa
Yeah, so you can read the English translation. Mata. We just did the
All
same.
right. Okay, perfect. While traveling, the Prasitas happened to see a great reservoir of water which seemed almost as big as the ocean. The water of this lake was so calm and quiet that it seemed like the mind of a great soul, and its inhabitants, the aquatics, appeared very peaceful and happy to be under the protection of such a watery reservoir.
Thank you. So here is actually a very nice point that it says while traveling, we read how the Prachetas they perform austerities in the ocean, but here it is actually described. They saw the great reservoir of water which looked like a big ocean, but there was a difference. In the ocean, you have all these turbulent waves, right? Anytime you go to the ocean, like, people actually go just to have fun with the waves. But this water of this lake was so calm and quiet, and it is said it was just like the mind of a great soul. So Prabhupada actually explains this point, and he says that, yeah. So he actually says that there's so many different kind of transcendentalists. There's the Gyanis, there's the Yogis, there's the Bhaktas. But if you see, based on the verse, Krishna Bhakta Nishkam Ata Eva Shanta, Bhukti Mukti Siddhi Kami Sakale Ashanta. This verse actually says only a Krishna Bhakta is Shanta. Everyone else, if you see Jnani, Yogi, Bhukti, right? Bhukti, Mukti, Siddhi, Kami, all of these Sakale Ashanta, even though they are on a spiritual path, the Jnanis, Yogis, they have a particular desire. And because they have a desire, desire to, like the Jnanis, they desire merging, the Yogis desire mystic siddhis. Because of all these desires, they are always ashanta. But only a devotee is actually shanta. Krishna Bhakta Nishkam Atayavsha. Nishkam means he has no other desire. Anya Bhilasita Sunyam, Prabhupada quotes. The definition of bhakti is Anya Bhilasita Sunyam. No other desire other than desire. And therefore, a devotee in every situation is just like that water body, calm, quiet, desireless. Right? No other desire other than desire to serve Krishna. And Prabhupada makes this point. And because he is always engaged in service of Krishna, whatever he is doing with his mind, with his body, with his words, he is always serving Krishna. Therefore, a devotee is always in association with Krishna. And if someone is associated with Krishna, then certainly he is always calm and cool. Right? Okay. And then here also another point is said that the aquatics appeared very peaceful and happy to be under protection of such a water reserve. So the point is that when we take shelter of a devotee, right, we will also, because we are under the shelter of such a great soul, our mind will also become calm and quiet. Right? So that's the secret. Like everyone in this world, they want to attain peace. They want to have, if you ask anyone, what is a success? I just want to have peace of mind. Here is the secret how you can have peace of mind. The only way you be under the shelter of a devotee of Lord. And because devotees of Lord are always in contact with Krishna, they are nishkam, they are blissful, right? And by us taking shelter, then we will be like, okay, whatever happens, my guru is there, or we are under shelter of so and so devotee. Then devotee can also be always calm, his mind can always be calm and quiet. Right? Yes. So, Prabhupada quotes 622, Yasmin stutto na dukkena guru napi vichalye. Even if some suffers some reversals in life, a devotee is never agitated. Krishna Bhakta Nishkam Ata Eva Shanta. So very nice comparison. How this water body, because it's so calm and quiet, is compared to the mind of a great soul, and the aquatics, because they have taken shelter of this water body, they were also calm and quiet. And similarly, those personalities who take shelter of the pure devotees are always calm and quiet. Right? Okay, text 21.
नीलरक्तोपलाम्भोजा कलारेन्दीवराकरं हंससारसचक्राव कारन्दवनिकुञ्जितम्. Priyanka Mataji.
Priyanka.
Hare Krishna. In that great lake, there were different types of lotus flowers. Some of them were bluish and some of them were red. Some of them grew at night, some in the day, and some, like the Indivara lotus flower, in the evening. Combined together, the lotus flowers filled the lake so full that the lake appeared to be a great mine of such flowers. Consequently, on the shores there were swans and cranes, Chakravaka, Karandava, and other beautiful water birds standing about.
So it's a description of they have come to this water body, and here it is said how the water body is so beautiful that different kind of lotus flowers. Some of them bluish, some of them red, some of them grew at the night, right? Normally lotus flowers in the day you see, but in the night some of them, right? Some like the Indivara lotus flower in the evening, and combined together this entire lake was filled with beautiful lotus flowers. I mean, these days we don't even have experience of lotus flowers. Sometimes very rarely we'll see, oh, this water body has few lotus flowers. But imagine the entire lake filled with varieties, bluish lotus, pinkish lotus flowers, right? So beautiful. Right? And then on the shores of this water body, there were different kinds of birds like cranes, chakravaka, karanda, beautiful birds standing everywhere. So Prabhupada here, he actually makes a point that he says that making the entire scene attractive and beautiful. As there are different types of human beings, according to the three modes of material nature, similarly there are different kinds of birds, trees, etc. So everything is actually classified in these three modes of material nature. So here it is described that everything, all the birds and the lotuses were all in the mode of sattva. The best of all those flowers were actually covering this lake. Okay, text 22.
Matak Brahmara Soswarya Rishtaroma Latang Gripam Padmakosha Rajo Dikshu Vikshipat Pavanotsavam.
Hare Krishna 4:24-22. There were various trees and creepers on all sides of the lake, and there were mad bumblebees humming all about them. The trees appeared to be very jolly due to the sweet humming of the bumblebees, and the saffron which was contained in the lotus flowers were being thrown into the air. These all created such an atmosphere that it appeared as though a festival was taking place there. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. So just in your mind, we can visualize the whole scene. They have come to this lake, and the lake is so calm, right? So calm. And then it's described that how these beautiful lotus flowers, beautiful birds around the on the banks of this lake. And then here it is described how there are bumblebees humming all about. Bzzz, and the trees are actually so happy because these bees are actually taking the saffron from the flowers, right? And they're throwing it in the air, and this whole thing up here, the Prachetas considered to be like a continuous festival going on, right? And here Prabhupada says that this indicates that Prachetas actually had reached Shivaloka. This is a description of that, the Kailash, the Shivaloka, which is in the Himalaya mountains. Okay, 23.
Tatra Gandharvam Akarnya Divyamarga Manoharam Visismyu Rajaputraste Ridanga Panavadyanu.
Hare Krishna. The sons of the king became very much amazed when they heard vibrations from various drums and kettle drums, along with other orderly musical sounds pleasing to the ear. Hare Krishna.
So imagine they're there, everything's so beautiful, and then they hear mridanga playing, ding, 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 and kettle drums, right? And so much like nice music. They're hearing this. They're amazed, like, where is this coming from? And Prabhupada in purport, very interestingly, he makes a point that an impersonalist would read these verses and say what? oh, this is all Maya. Let me not focus. When you talk of, let's visualize this beautiful scene. That's it. Why are you saying visualize? It's all Maya. Don't get attracted. Just focus, focus. Let's see what Lord Shiva has to say. Like they would just deny all this reality. But a devotee, he really appreciates this. They cannot actually enjoy, the impersonalists cannot enjoy transcendental bliss, but devotee will actually say, oh, this is how beautiful Lord Shiva's abode is, so beautiful. This is the creation of my dear Lord Shri Krishna, and we appreciate it in that way. Right? So Prabhupada points the difference between the impersonalist view and how the devotees would actually relish these verses of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay, next.
Text 24 to 25. Taryeva sarasastasman nishkramantam sahanugam upagiyamanam amara pravaram vibudhanugai taptahema nikayabhyam shitikantam trilochanam prasada sumukam vikshya pranemurjata kautukaha.
Hare Krishna. Translation. The Prachetas were fortunate to see Lord Shiva, the chief of the demigods, emerging from the water with his associates. His bodily luster was just like molten gold. His throat was bluish, and he had 3 eyes, which looked very mercifully upon his devotees. He was accompanied by many musicians who were glorifying him. As soon as Prachetas saw Lord Shiva, they immediately offered their obeisances in great amazement and fell down at the lotus feet of the Lord. Hare Krishna.
Imagine, like, everything, visualizing everything so beautiful. Like, imagine the pollen is actually spread everywhere. It's like, how when Holi, you play Holi color, you see all different colors everywhere. The pollen of these flowers, lotus, is spread everywhere, bluish and pinkish, and everything's so beautiful. And then, of all of a sudden, from that water body, who appears? None other than Lord Shiva. Along with, he doesn't come alone, along with different associates, and they are all singing the glories of Lord Shiva and then playing all these drums and other instruments. Right? And then the description of Lord Shiva is given. He says his bodily luster was molten gold. Prabhupada makes the point, many times we see Lord Shiva, he is actually shown as full white, white color. But actually here Bhagavatam is saying that how it is like kind of golden color. And his throat is Nilkantha. Right, so bluish throat. That's how. And then he had 3 eyes. Right, and with his 3 eyes, he was he angry? No, he was looking very mercifully at the Prachetas. The Prachetas there, they are seeing Lord Shiva, and Lord Shiva, which is very merciful glance, is looking at the Prachetas. Right? And then as soon as the Prachetas saw Lord Shiva, immediately pranemu. Pranemu means immediately they offered their obeisances to Lord. Oh, Lord Shiva has appeared. They offered their obeisances to him. So Prabhupada here in his purport, he talks about how Lord Shiva is so easily pleased. He is known as Ashutosh with just offering of bael leaves. Right? This is very. If you go to any Lord Shiva temple, they have these bael leaves that they offer, and Lord Shiva is very pleased with water, bael leaves. You just offer obeisances. He's very pleased, and that's why all these people with material desires, they approach Lord Shiva and say, "Oh, he's Ashutosh. Please give me good business, new car, this, that." And he said, "Okay, that's what you want. Take. Don't disturb me." Right? And then Prabhupada gives the example of Vritrasura. Right? All the demons, they also approach Lord Shiva. They say like, "Oh, Lord Shiva, please give me the blessing that anyone's head, I keep my hand, that head will crack into 1,000 pieces." I mean, what kind of blessing is that? And then Vritrasura asked, and he wanted to try it on Lord Shiva himself. And then Vishnu himself had to come and trick Vritrasura and say like, "You believing the word of Lord Shiva? He's always covered in ash. He stays in crematorium. What you believing the word of Lord Shiva? Just try it on your own head." And then Vritrasura put the hand on his own head, and he himself died. Right? So Prabhupada here makes the point that devotees of Lord Shiva, often they approach Lord Shiva with all these material blessings. But devotees of Lord Vishnu, they have no desire for such benedictions. And Lord Vishnu also would not give any of his disciples, any of his devotees, any benediction which will actually be harmful to them. Because Lord Vishnu is like that loving father, he would actually only give something which is actually a blessing, which is favorable for the bhakti of his devotees. Okay, 26.
Satan Prapanarti Haro Bhagavan Dharma Vatsalah Dharma Gyan Shila Sampanan Prita Pritan Uvachaha. Vrindavan Vilasani Mataji.
I
Lord
think
Shiva,
oh yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Lord Shiva became very pleased with the Prachetas because generally Lord Shiva is the protector of pious persons and persons of gentle behavior. Being very much pleased with the uh, princess, he began to speak as follows. Hare Krishna.
No, I was just going to say that I think Gopinacharya Prabhu and then also Arundhati Mataji are not on the list, so they can read next. Okay, so let's see. So in this verse, see, we still have to see why Lord Shiva just appeared. You know, I mean, did the Prachetas have a spiritual desire? Why are they performing austerities? Just so that they can have good children. So it is one way a material desire. So why did Lord Shiva actually appear to them? Yes, they had the intention of worshipping Vishnu for fulfilling their material desire, but why would Lord Shiva appear? I mean, we also have an intention to worship Lord Vishnu or Krishna. Does Lord Shiva appear to us? Why did he appear to the Pracheta? So here he says, Prapanna Arti Haraha, one who drives away all kinds of danger. Okay, then for Shiva, so Shiva is referred to that personality. Shiva is the protector. Yeah. So it's a Prapanna Arti Haraha. So Shiva is called that person who can drive away all kinds of danger, but he is actually Dharma Vatsala. Right? So what else Vatsala we have heard? Bhakta Vatsala. Right? We say Krishna is what? Bhakta Vatsala. He loves his devotees. So Lord Shiva is very favorable to those who are Dharma Vatsala. Right? So actually, if you see previously, we read about the Prachetas in text number 13, if you see, right, of this chapter. It says when Prachimbhari and Shatadruti had these 10 Prachetas, they were Dharma Snata. That means they were endowed with religiosity. Right? So these Prachetas, they were Dharma Vatsala. They were like, okay, we will follow religion. They had taken the vow of following religious principles. First point. Then Dharma Gyan. They were actually aware of religious principles. And third, Shila Sampannam. Very well behaved. Because these Prachetas were very well behaved, they knew what is Dharma. They had actually taken the instruction of their father on their head, right? And they were sadhavaha, right? So very pious and aware of religious principles. And hence Lord Shiva was Prita, very pleased with them. Therefore he came and he spoke the following words. Right? So Prabhupada, here Prabhupada explains Dharma Vatsala, person who lives according to religious principles. And then he says that sometimes Lord Shiva has to deal with those people who are in passion or ignorance. Such people are not always very much religious, but since they worship Lord Shiva for some material profit, they sometimes obey religious principles. So this is the whole trick where people want some material thing. Lord Shiva says, okay, for that you have to worship me. And then when they worship Lord Shiva fulfills that. But because through that worship they are following some kind of dharma, Lord Shiva may be pleased with them and finally guide them to Krishna. Right? So that is the whole plan of Lord Shiva, that somehow or other he can guide all his devotees to Krishna. So Lord Shiva was immediately pleased with them. And then further we'll see Lord Shiva himself will explain why he is pleased and why he is going to appear to the Prachetas. So next verse is the first verse that Lord Shiva speaks, but still Rudra Gita starts with 33. So from 27 to 32 is Lord Shiva will saying why he actually appeared to them. Okay. So 27.
Shri Rudra Uvacha Yuyam Vedi Shadha Putra Viditam Vashchikirshitam Anugrahaya Bhadram Evame Darshanam Kritam.
Hare Krishna. Lord Shiva said, "You are all the sons of King Prachinbari, and I wish all good fortune to you. I also know what you are going to do, and therefore I am visible to you just to show my mercy upon you. Hare Krishna.
Hmm. So here it says you are all like, so he's actually explaining and he's saying Yuyam Vedi Sadaha Putraha. You are all sons of Prachini Bhari, Viditam va Chikitsam. And knowing your desire, I actually anugraha. Out of anugraha, we have heard this word again and again. Out of my mercy, to show you mercy, I have actually appeared. Me darshanam kritam. I have actually appeared here to show mercy, all good fortune unto you. Now, Prabhupada in the purport, he explains that how Lord Shiva knew that how the Prachitas actually came to perform austerities to please Lord Vishnu, and because Lord Shiva knew this, he immediately became very pleased with them. So yes, the previous points of being Dharmagya, Dharma Vatsala, that's all true. But the real reason is, well, two reasons we can say. One is the Prachitas are in whose line? The line of Prithu Maharaj, who is a pure devotee of the Lord. So somehow, because they have that connection with Prithu, then that aspect of bhakti is there. And the second point here, he knew they have come to worship who? My own master, Lord Vishnu. So these 2 points are the key points where Lord Shiva actually appears. And here it says, Lord Shiva, knowing this, is very pleased. So a person who is not yet a devotee, but who desires to serve the Supreme Lord, he receives the blessings of Lord Shiva. Therefore, devotee need not try to please the demigods separately. All the demigods are none other than servants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And therefore, they are all prepared to help devotees in all situations. So this is a point that we all can remember, that many times, that even if someone takes a bhakti, they continue, I have to do this Ganesh puja, this puja, that puja, because my family has been doing it, Durga puja, I have to do. But here the point is actually said, when we actually worship Krishna, then all these demigods are already pleased. Oh, finally this soul is worshipping Krishna. And they, because they are also devotees of Krishna, they will bless that person and say like, okay, you're worshipping Krishna, I will make arrangements so that you can grow in your devotion to Krishna. That's how demigods see devotees of Lord Krishna. So Prabhupada further says, all demigods are waiting for opportunity to serve the devotees of the Lord. Imagine, the devotees are so glorious that demigods are waiting and coming and saying like, how can we serve you? So, and Prabhupada concludes the purport by quoting, he says, therefore Bilvamangal Thakur said that one who has unalloyed devotion for the Supreme Lord, the goddess of liberation is ready to serve him, to say nothing of the demigods. Right? So this verse is actually Krishna Karnamrita text 107. It says, Bhakti Tvai Stiratara. Bhakti Tvai Stiratara Bhagwan Yadi Syad Daivena Na Falati Divya Kishora Murti Mukti Swayam Mukulitanjali Sevate Asman Dharmartha Kama Gataya Samaya Pratiksha. Right? So if some bhakti tvai stiratara. So one who has actually developed unflinching devotion to Krishna, then Bhagwan Yadi Sad, if he has that, Daivena na falati divya kishora murti. Right? He is the youthful form, Divya Kishora Murti, the youthful form of Lord Krishna is actually revealed to such a person. And after Mukti Swayam, the demigod, the goddess of liberation, she personally comes to that person and says, oh please, can I serve you? Can I serve you? Right? And then Dharma, Artha, Kam, Moksha, all these things are actually again are patiently waiting to serve a devotee of the Lord. Right? He receives all the benefits of Dharma, Artha, Kama and Moksha. Right? So this is the glory of devotion service. If we just worship Krishna, just worship Vishnu, then with our full determination, Bhakti Tvai Stiratara, with our unflinching devotion, all the demigods will be pleased. The goddess of liberation will come and say, can I serve you? Dharma, Artha, Kam, all those, everything will be achieved just by rendering devotion to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Right? So Lord Shiva himself is making this point. Right? And 28.
Ya param ramhasa shakshad trigunaj jiva samgitat bhagavantam vasudevam prapanasa priyo hime.
Lord Shiva continued, any person who is surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, the controller of everything, material nature as well as a living entity, is actually very dear to me. Hare Krishna.
So further he's actually giving the reason why he's actually appearing. It says anyone who is Vasudevam Prapanna Priya, who is surrendered to Vasudeva, he is actually very dear to me. So Lord Shiva is saying, even more than those people who worship me, those who worship Vishnu, I love those people, right? Undoubtedly very dear. We become very dear to Lord Shiva if we actually worship Vishnu. Right? And then further he actually elaborates and he says, why? Because Lord Vishnu is Rahasaha. He's superior to Pradhan, he's superior to Prakriti, right? And then he's superior to Maya Shakti, Jiva Shakti, right? And then, right, and then further, so this word, so there are two different explanations to this verse. Right. Okay. So one explanation of this verse is how Lord Krishna is Rahasaha, who is actually beyond Prakriti, who is beyond Pradhana. Jiva Samgitat, who is superior to all the jivas, right? And then the word Rahasaha, right? So let me see. Yes, and there are three guna, right? So Rahasaha, Shakshat, Triguna. So the other meaning is Lord Krishna, who is actually superior to Maya Shakti, Jiva Shakti, and that is very difficult to even Brahman. Rahasa here referring to Brahman, saying Krishna who is superior to everything. The other meaning is someone who worships the Lord, who surrenders to the Lord, who worship is Triguna, who is beyond, his worship is beyond the three modes of material nature, who is actually, next point he says, not just offering karmas, not mixing the worship with the worship of demigods, and not mixing with Gyan. Right? So the second meaning is those whose devotion is Shakshat, fully surrendered to Vasudeva. He is not mixing it with the modes of material nature, who is not mixing it with the worship of demigods, who is not mixing it with Gyan. That person devotee becomes very dear to Lord Shiva. Is it okay? Like the two meanings, one is the Prabhupada gives and one Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives. One is all these words can be considered as the glories of Vishnu, and the other is all these words can be considered as the glories of that devotion to Lord Vishnu. And here Prabhupada here in purpose says, the reason why Lord Shiva personally came, because these prachetas are devotees of Krishna, and because they are fully surrendered, they are very rare. Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. And right, so here Lord Shiva is openly proclaiming that anyone who surrenders to Vasudeva, he becomes very dear to Krishna. Right, so Prabhupada quotes this verse from the Yam Brahma Varundendra Rudra Maruta Stunvanti Divyastave. Right, so basically this verse Suta Goswami is saying, it comes in the 11th canto. Unto that personality who Brahma, Varuna, Indra, Rudra and the Maruts, they are actually always praising Vishnu. So Vishnu is always being praised by all these demigods. Right? So demigods, they themselves are trying to find out who is actually surrendered to Vasudeva, and they are willing to, those personalities become very dear to demigods. Okay, and then further in the purport, Prabhupada says, Lord Shiva came, especially you see the prachetas, because they are fully surrendered to the Lord. And then, 12:13:1, Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudra Maruta Stuvanti Divyastavai. All Brahma, Shiva, Varuna, Indra, Chandra, all these demigods are always worshipping Krishna. Okay, and then further, Prabhupada is actually explaining those words as Purusha, saying that how Lord Krishna, he is the actual enjoyer, he is the supreme of all, right? He is superior to Prakriti, he is superior to Jiva, And Bhagavad Gita Prabhupada quote 7.5, Aparayam itasva anyam prakritim vidhi me param. Right? Lord Krishna is superior to all these. Mamaivam jiva loki jiva bhuna sanatana. Krishna is superior to all living entities because all living entities are nothing but part and parcel of Krishna. Right? And then this word jiva samgyata, right? When living entities convert by the three modes of material nature, he's called jiva samgyata. There are two kinds of living entities, shara and akshara. Shara is those who have fallen, akshara is those who have not fallen, but Lord Krishna is the source of all living entities, the fallen and the fallen. Thus, in all respects, Vasudeva Krishna is the Supreme Lord, and Lord Shiva is very satisfied with those who completely surrender to him. Okay. The conclusion is the devotee of Lord Shiva is not dear to Lord Shiva, but devotee of Lord Krishna is very dear to Lord Shiva. Okay. Let's see. Okay, I'll make a point here, a more general point. So, if you see the flow of the third canto, what did we say the third canto's emphasis is on? Who remembers? What is the emphasis of the third canto?
Whatever we do, like whatever we desire, do it through sacrifice, like dedicate your activities through sacrifice.
Yeah. So third canto emphasis like, yes, we have a desire to enjoy, but do that through a Vedic way of living, Vedic sacrificing. Fourth canto, what is the emphasis? Is that even if you are living a Vedic way of life, doing Vedic sacrifices, there are problems with that. What is the first story? Daksha. Daksha was the Prajapati. He was doing this Vedic sacrifice, but the problem was he was proud. Right? So there is problem with Vedic way of sacrifice, and therefore fourth canto is bringing us to like no need of worshipping all these demigods. Just worship Vishnu. Just worship Krishna. Now all the other demigods, if you see, okay, Brahma, Ganesh, Vayudev, Agnidev, one may say, okay, they are not the highest. Yes, I will worship someone higher. But even in India, one very common thing is there's always this: who is superior, Rudra or Krishna? Vishnu or Shiva? Who is superior? And then many times finally people say, like the followers of Shiva will fight with the followers of Vishnu, saying that no, Shiva is superior. And followers of devotees, or maybe they don't. But anyway, there's always this, this tug of war. And one says that Shiva is supreme, one says Vishnu is supreme. Now, if you consider all the Vedic sacrifices, and you're saying, okay, I understand. But what about Lord Shiva? Because even Brahma Samhita says Lord Shiva is one way. What? Shiram yatha dadi vikara vishesha yogat. He's just like in the same category one way. That Lord Shiva is so glorious, is almost like milk and yogurt. Almost, and both of them are milk products. So just like milk and yogurt is there, that's why Krishna and Lord Shiva is there. They are so close. So hence, the followers of Shiva, they say, oh, no, Shiva is supreme. But then with full authority to make the point that even Shiva is actually saying that the followers of Lord Vishnu, they are more dear to me than the ones who worship me. To make that point, we have this entire pastime here in Srimad Bhagavatam. That without a doubt, even those who are worshippers of Shiva will actually say, no, we want to please Shiva, let's worship Vasudeva. Right? So they will come to the point of Vasudeva Sarvamiti. Right? Vasudeva Sarvamiti. So that's the point here. Okay, so everyone okay so far? Any comments up to this point? Any thoughts, any questions? We'll take a break now, 5 minutes. And then, but let's see, before we take a break, anything that we discussed today that you liked or you heard, you read from Prabhupada's purports that you stood out to you?
Prabhuji, I like the point that about the blessings of the parampara. Guru gives us the process, the sambandha, the abhidya and prajna. And the secret of success is just to follow the instructions of the spiritual master.
Actually, in the parampara, they also say the mood of worship is very important. Right? So not only they give us the gyan, they give us the process of worshipping, they give us the mood. What mood? Right? And especially for us, it's very important as followers of Mahaprabhu that what is finally our mood of worship. That's why if you see in our Acharya's bhajans, our bhajans of the Acharyas is actually revealing the mood in which we worship Radha and Krishna. Okay, thank you. Anything else?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes.
I really like this last verse where Lord Krishna is saying, anyone who has surrendered to Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna is very dear to me. Because in real life, I have seen this conflict with my friends and my father, and it was I could never argue with them or like challenge them. It was not my intention, but I could never convince that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and while although you worship Lord Shiva, but you should not say like he's the creator or he's the one. So now with this verse, it's not like I'm going to challenge them, but it just in my heart I feel reassured and I feel like yes, we are on the right path always. And Lord Shiva is very important, but he also worships Lord Krishna.
Yes, and by us worshipping Krishna, Lord Shiva is already very pleased with us. Right? So, I mean, whenever these arguments come, then we have to always come to the point: what is your authority? That is the biggest question. What is your authority? On which basis are you saying that Shiva is the supreme? Right? And then they'll say, "Oh, we read Shiva Purana, we read this one, we read that one." But then you say, well, our acharyas themselves have established that even in Shiva Purana, the glories of Srimad Bhagavatam is established. Every of the other Purana glorifies Srimad Bhagavatam as Bhagavatam Pramanam Amalam. So if you take, let's discuss based on the authority of Srimad Bhagavatam, and then you can bring them on the authority of Srimad Bhagavatam. In Bhagavatam itself, there's Rudra Gita. Right, and we are going to start the Rudra Gita just in 3 verses, and we'll see how Lord Shiva is glorifying Vishnu in such a beautiful way. How he's offering prayers to Vishnu, and how he himself is making the point that those who worship Krishna, they are very dear to me. So it's a question of authority, like not just based on like, oh, I think this is no. Your thinking has no value. What is the Shastra, and which Shastra? The essence of all the Shastra. So that's the point. Okay, thank you. Any other points?
Earlier we read about Adi Shankara, Shiva's incarnation himself says Bhaja Govinda. That is the end that everybody needs. That is, he might have described so many other philosophies, but his end philosophy was Bhaja Govinda, right?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, Bhaja Govinda. Oh, foolish people just worship Govinda. Right?
And then he also wrote Gita Mahatmyam, right, Prabhu?
Yeah, he wrote the Gita Mahatmyam. I mean, even he wrote this Radhika
Radhastava.
Lord Shiva himself has written that. I mean, glorifying Srimati Radharani. So imagine that glorious position of Lord Shiva. And then, Lord Shiva is Gopeshwar Mahadev. I mean, we go to Vrindavan and we pray to Lord Shiva. Oh, Lord Shiva, you actually took the role of a gopi. You are here protecting the dham. Please give me entrance in the dham. So, okay, thank you. Any other points?
I like the analogy of the calm lake and how the devotee doesn't have material desires, and that's why they're always calm and cool and peaceful. And if we're around those devotees, we also get that feeling. We've experienced that. And when you're around pure devotees, you feel so peaceful, calm, and happy.
That's so practical, right? You just be in the association of advanced devotees, and you yourself will feel like, oh, just and then the point, and personally you can experience, just be around, you just feel like, because their bhakti is so powerful, just you be there, you be under shelter, you feel happy, you feel calm. It's like, okay, whatever problems, it's all like Krishna will take care. Right now I just like feel just happy. So that being that aquatic in that calm water, that's our position. So that's nice. Okay. Anything else? Okay, so let's take a 4-5 minutes break, and then please come back, and then we'll continue with. We are just about to start Rudra Gita. Text number 33 onwards is the Rudra Gita. So let's see how far we can go today. Okay, so just please come back in 4-5 minutes. Hare Krishna.
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Okay, Hare Krishna, everyone. So please come back as we'll continue. We'll start Rudra Gita, and we still have 3 more verses before we can start. Okay, so we are in text number 29. Okay, Ratnadayika, let's start.
Text 29. Swadharmanishta shatajanmabhi puman virin shatameti tata param himam avyakritam bhagavatota vaishnavam padam yathaham vibudha kalat yaye.
A person who executes his occupational duty properly for 100 births becomes qualified to occupy the post of Brahma, and if he becomes more qualified, he can approach Lord Shiva. Person who is directly surrendered to Lord Krishna or Vishnu in unalloyed devotional service is immediately promoted to the spiritual planets. Lord Shiva and other demigods attain these planets after the destruction of this material world.
So Lord Shiva here, he's actually saying, he's one way like talking of like attainment of Brahma, Shiva and Vishnu, and he's saying like which of them is superior. And then he says, the verse starts off with Swadharma Nishta. So someone who's fixed in his dharma according to Varna and Ashrama. And then Shata Janma. For 100 lifetimes, if someone does his duties of Varna and Ashrama perfectly, then he'll attain the position of Brahma. So anyone here wants to become Brahma? We read in the Brihad Bhagavatam how Gopkumar gets the position of Brahmaji, right? So and if there's no Brahma, maybe Krishna will say, oh, one of you become Brahma. I'll give you 4 heads. You can become Brahma. But here it said like for 100 years, if you're doing your dharma swanishta, then you can get position of Brahma. But even greater than that, Virinchi referring to Lord Shiva, Virinchi is referring to Brahma. Tataha, thereafter, Paramhi, even higher than that, if someone does even more pious activities, then he can attain me. Lord Shiva is saying he can attain me, which is superior to Brahma. But then further he said, Avyakritam Bhagavatota Vaishnava. But those who worship Vishnu, those who are Vaishnavas, they attain what? Padam Yataham Vimudha Kalate. They attain Vaikuntha. And that is the highest of all. Right? So he's making the point. You have to do so much austerity to attain Brahmalok. But then even higher is Shiva. But the highest is Vishnu. Right? Therefore, those who are worshippers of Vishnu, they are very, very dear to me. Right? And even he's making the point, this verse ends actually, Yatha Vaishnava Padam Yatha Aham. Like I also right? One way we can say, I also am always situated in Vaikuntha. And those who worship Vishnu, they are actually also attained Vaikuntha. Or the other way that Prabhupada explained, that Shiva is saying, even we demigods, only after the annihilation of this world, we enter Vaikuntha. And because devotees of Vishnu, you are actually already entering Vaikuntha. And then Prabhupada says that this is giving the evolutionary process. Now we talk about process of evolution, right? Darwin's theory of evolution, but this is the real evolution. And Prabhupada said, let's start from this devastation. So devastation, then you have like the lower species of life, let's say the fishes, then the creepers, then the trees, then insects, then reptiles, then birds, then bees, then human beings, then above human beings, is the civilized human beings, where Varnashram is actually comes, right? But even further than that, more civilized, 100 lifetimes you do the duties of Varnashram, Brahmalok. Even more qualified Shivalok. But even Shivalok, Prabhupada said, even at Shivalok, that's also like not the permanent position. And because Prabhupada goes, Brahma Bhuvana Loka Punar Avati. From Brahma down to the lowest, everything is a place of misery. Everywhere there's suffering. Everything is temporary. Except, if you go even above Brahmalok, you go to Shivalok, that also is not permanent. Prabhupada says, the only permanent, the only safe place is Vaikuntha or Krishna place. That is the highest perfection of the evolutionary process. So if you want to understand evolution, real evolution, then this is the evolution. And becoming a devotee of Lord Krishna is the highest evolution state that a jiva can actually attain. Okay. Next verse, text 30.
Atha bhagavata yuyam priyasta bhagavan yata namad bhagavatanam cha preyan anyosti karhichit. Kaushalya Mataji.
Yes, it was mute. Yeah. Hare Krishna. Translation Srila Prabhupada ki jai. You are all devotees of the Lord, and as such, I appreciate that you are as respectable as the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself. I know in this way that the devotees also respect me and that I am dear to them. Thus, no one can be as dear to the devotees as I am. Hare Krishna.
Interesting what Lord Shiva is saying, right?
Yes.
He's saying just as Atha Bhagavata Yuyam, right? The devotees of the Lord, Priya, are very dear. Sta you Bhagavan. So just as the devotees have affection for no one except Krishna, right? Our devotion to Krishna is exclusive. Ananya Bhakti, right? Similarly, they also have devotion for me, for no one except me, right? So basically he's saying, as devotees of Vishnu, they worship Krishna with that exclusive mood, they also have that mood towards me. And why is that? Because Vaishnava Yatha Shambhu. He's the best devotee of the Lord. Right? So Prabhupada says, Na Mam Bhagavatam Priyan Anya. They have affection for no one except the Lord. Priyan Anya Asti Karichit. And anytime there can be no one as dear to the devotees as I am. So Prabhupada here also quotes how in Vrindavan there is Lord Shiva's temple as Gopeshwar. Right? So when you go to Vrindavan, what is the prayer? Actually, Lord Shiva is one of the gatekeepers, right? One of the 5 gatekeepers. And we have to take shelter of Lord Shiva, take his permission to enter Lord Vrindavan. Right? When we go to Vrindavan, we go to Gopeshwar Mahadev as one of the first few temples to take permission. Oh Mahadev, you are here protecting the holy dham. Please give me entrance into Vrindavan. And there's a beautiful verse which actually says, Vrindavani pate jaya soma soma mole sanaka sanananda sanatan nare debhyo Gopeshwara vraj vilasi yugangri padme prema prayacha nirupadi namo namaste. He's saying, this is a prayer to Gopeshwar Mahadev. I say, Oh Gopeshwar Mahadev, O gatekeeper of Vrindavan, you are glorified by Sanaka, Sanatana, Sanananda, Narebhyo. All these personalities are glorifying you. Gopeshwara Vraj Vilasi Yugangri Padme. Therefore, desiring that you bestow upon me pure love for the lotus feet of Sri Radha Krishna, who performed joyous pastimes in Vrindavan, I offer my obeisances unto you again and again. Right? Desiring that you bestow upon me love for the lotus. This is actually a verse composed by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Right? He's actually saying, oh Lord Shiva, you are always such a great devotee, always absorbed in Radha Krishna, always absorbed in the highest pastime. You please give me that prema to the lotus feet of Radha and Krishna. Right? So that's why the devotees, therefore the Lord Shiva is so dear to all the devotees of Vishnu. Right? Prabhupada also points out in this verse that how, only out of Rita Jnana, Kamestha says Rita Jnana, those who have lost their material intelligence, Rita Jnana, they're devoid of Jnana. What do? They actually worship the demigods, but with that material lust. Right? So, and that is basically how an asura, like the materialist people, they approach Lord Shiva for material being, but devotee approaches Lord Shiva only for one thing. Please give me devotion to Lord Krishna. Right? And that way, like, even we read about the gopis, right? Immediately after Kartik month is next thing, what happens on the calendar? Katyani Vrata. The gopis are worshipping Katyani. Why are they worshipping Katyani? Just so that they can Katyani Devi can give them devotion to Krishna. So yes, one may say, why are they doing demigod worship? No. Their worship is they are worshipping those personalities just to get devotion to Krishna. Right? So Shiva loves all the devotees of Supreme Lord, and he respects them as much as he respects the Supreme Person. As much as Lord Shiva respects Krishna, he respects the devotees of Lord Krishna. Right? And then Prabhupada makes this point. We read about in Ramayana also, like particularly Tulsidas Ramayana, how Lord Ramchandra also worshipped Lord Shiva. Right? At Rameshwaram. Right? So if Lord Ramchandra can worship Lord Shiva, why can't a devotee not worship Lord Shiva, but in the right understanding as the best devotee of Krishna? Okay? I'll tell you a side story. So once a devotee, he went to Vrindavan. Right? And then he went to Vrindavan, and then he went to one of these, internet cafe places. Like just next to our Krishna Balaram temple, there's like a row of internet cafe places. And then he went to one of the internet cafe places, and he saw that shopkeeper, he was actually worshipping Durga. And this is the first time this person came to Vrindavan. And he said, he was surprised. He's like, oh, this person, we are in Vrindavan, and he's worshipping Durga. He had a small altar there, and he's doing puja to Durga. And he said oh, this is an opportunity. I should preach to him. I should tell him that he should worship Krishna. Why is he worshipping Durga? Then he went to him and said Baba, you're here in Vrindavan. Why are you worshipping Durga? You worship Krishna. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of God. And the shopkeeper said, no, Krishna is my family member. I am worshipping Durga so I can get, bhakti, association of Krishna. So in Vrindavan, the whole mood is different. They worship demigods by, no, Krishna is my Lala. Why should I worship Krishna? I'll worship someone else so that I can always stay with Krishna. So that's a whole different mood. But here Prabhupada is making the point that how Lord Shiva is so dear to devotees because he gives us devotion to Lord Krishna. Okay, 31.
Idam viviktam japtavyam pavitram mangalam param nishreyasya karam chapi shruyatam tad vadami vaha.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji Mataji. Now I shall chant one mantra which is not only transcendental, pure and auspicious, but is the best prayer for anyone who is aspiring to attain the ultimate goal of life. When I chant this mantra, please hear it carefully and attentively. Hare Krishna.
So this is Lord Shiva is telling the Prajitas, Idam Viviktam. I'm going to tell this very powerful mantra. That's the Rudra Gita, right? Shruyatam. You please hear. Right? Vadami. As I'm speaking to you, you please hear. And then this mantra is so glorious that Japatyam. You always should chant this mantra. Pavitram. Very pure. Mangalam. Auspicious. Param, it is transcendental. Nishreyakaram, very beneficial, right? So these 5 qualities of Rudra Gita has been mentioned. So always chant the Rudra Gita. They are very pure, very auspicious, transcendental, very beneficial. Right? And then, so Prabhupada in the purport makes the point that Lord Shiva himself is saying Viktam, very confidential. That means this is not just some sectarian mantra. Anyone who wants to progress in a spiritual life can actually meditate on Rudra Gita and attain the highest perfection. That's how powerful is Rudra Gita, how auspicious is Rudra Gita. Okay. Now text 32.
Maitreya Uvacha iti anukrosha hridayo Bhagavan ahatan shivaha Badhanjalin Rajaputran Narayana Paro Vachaha.
Hare Krishna. The great sage Maitreya continued, out of his causeless mercy, the exalted personality, Lord Shiva, a great devotee of Lord Narayana, continued to speak to the king's sons, who were standing with the folded hands. Hare Krishna.
So Maitreya is saying, okay, so up to 31, Shiva has actually made the point that why he is up here to the Prachitas, right? So what is the real reason? Can you summarize? What are the main points we have discussed? Why is Shiva? Like we asked the question, right? We also want to worship Krishna. Why is Shiva not coming to us? Why did Shiva appear to the Prachitas? What's the answer to this question?
They are Dharma Vatsala.
Okay, first is Dharma Vatsala, right? Okay, next. Shiva is Dharma Vatsala, that means he is very dear to those who follow Dharma, and they are Dharmagya, they are followers of Dharma, hence Shiva is very pleased. Okay, next point.
Yeah, Prachetas are in the line of Prithu Maharaj and they are planning to please Lord Vishnu.
Yes, so this is the main reason that they are in the line, they are actually devotees. Shiva knows that they are actually very nice devotees of Vishnu, and hence he's actually come to show them the path, and they are in line of Prithu Maharaj, and they have come to worship Vishnu. Any other points?
A person who is surrendered to the Supreme God is very dear to Lord Shiva.
Yes. So those who have surrendered to Vishnu, then Lord Shiva is actually very dear. Lord Shiva is very dear to them, and they are very dear to Lord Shiva. Right? So hence Lord Shiva has actually appeared here. Anything else? Any other points we read?
They had good qualities like gentle behavior, pious.
They accept the instructions of the father on the
Yes.
head. Right? Another point we can, any other points? Like one way from 29 we can say that how Lord Shiva is always in his mind residing in Vaikuntha. And he's made the point that those who do 100, do the dharma for 100, they attain Brahma, then higher is Shiva. But those devotees, they are also aspiring to Vaikuntha. Lord Shiva is always in Vaikuntha, and these devotees are aspiring for Vaikuntha, and hence that way they are actually, Lord Shiva feels so close to those devotees. Right? So that's another point you can say. Okay, so now we'll start with, further in this verse it says, Ankrusha Hridaya Bhagavan, right? Thus, this very kind-hearted Lord Shiva, Narayana Paraha, he is a great devotee of Narayan. So Lord Shiva is a Narayan Para, great devotee of great devotee of Narayan. And then Ahan, he said to the Prachetas who were standing with Baddha Anjali, standing with folded hands, he actually told this mantra. Right? Now Prabhupada makes a very nice point in the purport. He says, when mantra is chanted by a great devotee, it becomes even more powerful. And Prabhupada says, at the time of initiation, right, the same Hare Krishna Mahamantra is there. What is the difference between, someone may just read Hare Krishna Mahamantra somewhere, or hearing the same Hare Krishna Mahamantra from the lips of pure devotees, hearing from Prabhupada. What is the difference? And here Prabhupada says, is like when one when one hears the Hare Krishna Mahamantra from the lips of a devotee of Krishna, then the Mahamantra becomes even more powerful in the sense that the Mahamantra is imbued with the devotion of that Bhakta. And that's why we say, like, how when we come together, we chant japa together. It's so powerful. Why? Because, like, one way, yes, we are chanting. I can chant at home, I can chant at the temple. Why chanting in a group of devotees is more powerful? Because somehow or other you are actually chanting in their association. Their bhakti is somehow you are absorbing. And even at the time of initiation, the spiritual master is giving the beads and saying, okay, now you chant. And even before also, the disciple chants 16 rounds. But after initiation, okay, we take a vow to chant 16. But at the time, the mantra becomes even more powerful because you are receiving from a spiritual master. Right? So at the time of initiation, the mantra that we receive becomes even more powerful. So because these words, this Rudra Gita is spoken by Lord Shiva himself, hence it is even more powerful. Okay? And Lord Shiva is here, advised here, hear attentively. If you are inattentive, that is offensive. Okay, so text 33 is the first shloka of the Rudra Gita. So it's 9 o'clock, right? So everyone ready to start Rudra Gita? Any points so far? Any thoughts? Any questions?
Prabhuji, I have a question in text 29. When it says, like, Lord Shiva is saying, like, any person who executes his occupational duty, I could not understand the meaning of occupational.
Yeah. So, see, according to our Varna and Ashrama, like if someone is a Brahmana or someone is a Vaishya, so according to that, there are rules and regulations. And if someone does those occupational duties, like if someone is a Brahmana and he does his duty perfectly for this life, next life, let's say he's born as a Kshatriya, he does his duties perfectly for that. And if he does that for 100 lifetimes, perfectly doing his dharma according to his Varna and Ashrama, then he gets qualified to get the post of Brahma.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Okay, so let's start Rudra Gita, text number 33.
Shri Rudra Uvacha Jitam ta atma vidvarya Swastaye swastir astu me Bhavataradha saradham Sarvasma atmane namaha.
Lord Shiva addressed the Supreme Personality of Godhead with the following prayer. O Supreme Personality of Godhead, all glories unto you. You are the most exalted of all self-realized souls. Since you are always auspicious for the self-realized, I wish that you be auspicious for me. You are worshipable by virtue of all perfect instructions you give. You are the super soul. Therefore, I offer my obeisance unto you as the supreme living being. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Okay, so basically here, the first verse, so actually in the first, if you see from 33 onwards to 43, right? So 11 verses, he offered obeisance to the Lord in the form of the Chaturvyuha, right? So we know it is Sankarshan, Pradyumna, Anirudh and Vasudeva. So these four Chaturvyuha, he's actually offering obeisance. And as we read, it'll be very clear why he's actually offering obeisances to these. And if you remember previously, how this Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, Anirudh are the presiding deities for the intelligence, for the consciousness, for the mind, right? So we read this earlier. So by offering obeisances to each one of these personalities, he is purifying his consciousness, purifying his intelligence, purifying his mind, right? So we'll read. So and then he'll purify each one of his elements so that they can be engaged in service to the Lord. So first he actually says, Jitam te, all glories unto you. Right? How we say, I'm thinking of verse not coming to me now. But anyway, so here it says, Jitam te, all glories unto you. So here Prabhupada says that as soon as the devotee is inspired by the Lord to offer prayers, what's the first thing you should say? Jai. right? Jai, right? Right. So basically here he's starting off with Jitamte, right? All glories to you, all glories to you, right? So when we see the Lord, what do we say? Jai Shri Radha Golokananda ki Jai, right? So first thing we should say all glories. So that's why Rudra is showing us. First thing you see the Lord, you say Jai, right? So therefore he starts Jitamte. Then next word he actually says Atma with Varya, and he says, "Oh Lord, you are the best of the self-realized." Right? Of all self-realized persons, you are the best of them. And then the next one he says, Swasteya Swasti. You are all auspicious, please be auspicious for me. Right? Because you are the all auspicious supreme personality of God, the best of all self-realized. You please be auspicious to me. Right? So now, if you see, so in every verse there's a prayer. Right? So actually Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is pointing out the prayer of every verse. So first prayer that Rudra is saying, "O Lord, O Vishnu or Krishna, you are, all glories unto you, you are the source of all auspiciousness. Therefore, swasti astu, let there be auspicious to me." Right? So that is his first prayer. Now what does auspiciousness mean? What does auspiciousness mean? Anyone? What does auspiciousness mean?
Something good that takes us close to Krishna.
Okay, something good that takes us close to Krishna. Okay. Any other definitions of auspiciousness?
Clean, pure, the truth.
Was that Mataji?
Clean, pure,
Oh, clean, pure.
truth.
Okay. So actually, if you see Nectar of Devotion, in that Rupa Goswami gives a definition of auspiciousness. He says actual auspiciousness means welfare activities for something that is good for everyone in the world, right? And then he actually makes a point that what is that one thing that is good for everyone in this world? And he says that good thing is Krishna consciousness. So actually Rupa Goswami in the first chapter of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu itself, he establishes that real auspiciousness means Krishna consciousness. And then he actually says, so here one way, so hence Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur taking this point of Rupa Goswami, he says when Lord Shiva is asking for all auspiciousness, he is actually saying the most auspicious state is that of attraction to the sweet qualities of the Lord. Therefore, in the first verse, it says Lord Shiva is saying, "Let me always be attracted to your sweet qualities." Right? That is the first prayer here. Okay, and then further he says, "Aradhase Radham." You are worshipable by virtue of all perfect instructions you give. When Krishna gives instructions in Bhagavad Gita, right? When he speaks all these instructions, Krishna is worshipable by those instructions. And then Sarvasmai Atmane Namaha. My obeisance unto you, the super soul, the supreme living entity. Right? So Prabhupada here explains how the Lord is glorified as the chief of all self-realized souls. And he says, yes, there are living entities in the material world, living entities in the spiritual world. Material world jivas are conditioned living entities. Spiritual world jivas are completely self-realized. They are all self-realized. But among all those self-realized souls, and why are they self-realized? Because they are fixed in devotion to the Lord. They understand who they are, what is their eternal relationship with the Lord, and they are engaged in the seva. That is perfection. Now the best of all perfected living entities is Lord Shri Krishna. Therefore the word used is Atmavit Varya. The best of the self-realized personalities, that is Lord Shri Krishna. And Prabhupada explains here the auspiciousness. He says, when a jiva is fixed in knowledge in his relationship to the Lord, that is auspicious. And hence, Lord Shiva is actually praying, please be auspicious. Let me, please reveal to me what is my relationship with you, and please keep me engaged in that relationship. And then the next point that is explained, where it says, Aradhase Radham, Prabhupada explains, the one who worships the Lord also becomes perfect. right? So the Lord has given instructions in Bhagavad Gita, so you worship the Lord through those instructions, and you will also become perfect. Prabhupada goes 15:15 Bhagavad Gita. Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishto mata smritir jnanam apohanam cha. That is actually Krishna mata smritir. He gives us knowledge, he gives us forgetfulness. It's all Krishna. And then dadami buddhi yogam tam. So when we worship Krishna, when we follow the instructions of Krishna, then Krishna gives us wisdom from within. And Prabhupada here in the purpose is Lord is always ready to give instructions to us, right? And then Prabhupada also quotes so many verses. He's quoting 1:8:20, Kunti Maharani's prayers, where he actually says that the Lord, he actually, to the topmost devotees, to inform them how they can remain. The Lord himself gives instructions from within to actually tell them how they can remain in devotion to the Lord. Right? So therefore, Shiva, in the prayer here, is praying. He's saying that, oh Lord, let me always be fixed in devotion to you. Right? And that is the first prayer of the Lord, of our Lord Shiva to the Lord. Okay? First verse is okay. I mean, there's a lot in the first verse itself, but we touched upon. So what all main points? First is, as soon as you see the Lord, what do you say? Jai. Right? Jai. Then second, he actually says he's glorifying the Lord as the best of all self-realized. So we discussed that how living entities are there, but in the spiritual world, everyone is self-realized because they are engaged in devotion to the Lord. Right? So the best of all, that is Lord Krishna himself. Then we talked of auspiciousness. Lord Shiva is saying, please be auspicious to me. And what does the auspiciousness really mean? He's actually praying, please give me attraction to your sweet qualities. Right? And Prabhupada has explained this auspiciousness in the purport as being fixed in our devotion to the Lord. So one way he's actually praying, let me be fixed in my devotion unto you. Right? Next point we actually read is Aradhase Radham. Right? That you are worshipable by virtue of all perfect instructions you give. So what Krishna speaks to us, you follow the instruction, that is a perfect way of worshipping the Lord. Therefore, Sarvasya Mai Atmani Namaha. My obeisance unto you, who is the super soul of all living entities. Okay? Is it okay or too fast? Could you get all the points? Yes?
It's good to speak, Prabhuji.
What do you say, Mati? It's okay?
Yeah, it's good to speak. Thank you.
Okay, text number 2.
Text 34. Nama Pankajanabhaya Bhuta Shukshmendriyatmane Vasudevaya Shantaya Kutasthaya Swarochishe.
Hare Krishna. My Lord, you are the origin of the creation by virtue of the lotus flower which sprouts from your navel. You are the supreme controller of the senses and the sense objects, and you are also the all-pervading Vasudeva. You are most peaceful, and because of your self-illuminated existence, you are not disturbed by the 6 kinds of transformations.
So now, as I mentioned, he is offering prayers to the Chaturvya. So first you see here what? He says Vasudevaya Shantaya. So out of the 4, everyone knows the 4 Chaturvya, right? Sankarshan, Pradyumna, Anirudh, Vasudeva. So first he is offering obeisances to Vasudeva. Now Vasudeva is actually the presiding deity of the senses. Right? Senses. So here he's saying, because what is bhakti? Bhakti means what? Sarvopadi vinirmuktam tatparatena nirmalam rishikena rishikesha sevanam. To actually engage our senses in the service of the master of the senses. So first, the prayer here, the second verse, Lord Shiva is playing, please, O Vasudev, you are the presiding deity of the senses, and bhakti means to engage my senses in your service, so therefore please purify my senses. Right? Please be merciful and make my senses dedicated to you. Right? And then, yes, okay, so that's the point. Actually here, one minute, let me see, 34, right? Okay. Okay, so there are 2 points here. Actually, Vasudeva is the presiding deity of Chitta, consciousness. Right? So once here, he actually says Bhutma Shukma, that means the sense objects, Indriya, the senses. And here he's saying, Oh Lord, you are the origin of the sense objects and the senses. Therefore, yes, you purify my senses, right? Purify my senses. And also he's actually saying, make my chitta peaceful, right? Peaceful, shantaya, kutastya, like unchanging, right? Make it conscious of bhakti by revealing your beauty, right? So, right. So, okay. So how do you understand this? See, so the point of senses is okay. That bhakti means what? To engage our senses in the service of the Lord of the senses. Therefore, he's saying, Oh Lord, let all these, you are the origin of the senses and sense objects. Therefore, purify our senses so that I can serve you. Right? First point. Second point he actually says is, he's actually saying that our consciousness, is our consciousness changing or unchanging? Our consciousness, what is consciousness? The energy of the soul. Is it changing or unchanging?
It's changing as we grow in bhakti.
Yeah.
Actually, the consciousness is always unchanging. But what is happening is either it gets covered or it opens up. Right? Contraction, expansion. The consciousness is a part of the soul. The consciousness is always pure. But the problem is it gets covered, it gets open. Right? So here we are actually saying that make my consciousness one way unchanging in the sense like let it always be open like a lotus flower so that my consciousness may always be engaged in Krishna consciousness. Right? So that's the second. So one is senses and second is the aspect of the consciousness, chitta. Right? Now if you see the word to word here says Nama Pankaja Nabhaya. Oh Lord, you are, we read this in Queen Kunti's prayers, right? Nama Pankaja Nabhaya, right? Same line is there. Obeisances to you whose navel is like a lotus flower or whose navel is from which the lotus flower appears, and who is appearing on top of the lotus flower? No one, Brahmaji himself, right? So Namo Pankaja Nabhaya, and then why is he saying this? Why is he calling the Lord Namo Pankaja Nabhaya? Because he's making the point, Brahmaji is born from your navel. And I am born from Brahmaji. Right? Therefore, you can purify all my senses because, finally you are my source. Right? So you can purify all my senses. Right? And therefore, he says, Bhutma Shukshma Indriya Atma. You are the origin and supreme controller of senses and sense objects. Shantaya, always peaceful. Kutastaya, let my consciousness always be peaceful, always be unchanging. Swarochisha, unto supreme illumination, Vasudeva, unto you, O Lord Vasudeva, I offer my obeisances. Right? So here, Prabhupada is actually explaining, Shiva considers himself product of the material world. His senses is under the control of Brahmaji, who is under the control of you, Krishna, like Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. Therefore, he is praying, O Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, O Vasudeva, please purify my senses. Right? Next, Shantaya, Kutasthaya, Swarochisaya. Very significant. Lord within the material world is not disturbed by the 6 transformations. So let our consciousness not be disturbed by the 6 transformations of this material world. What are the 6 transformations of the material world?
Birth, death, old age.
Growth, reproduction, and old age, dwindling,
and death. Right? So these are the transformations. Our body goes through these transformations. It appears, stays for some time, produces byproducts, then it grows, it decays, and then it dies. So here he's saying, even though externally the body will go through these changes, let my consciousness not be disturbed. When we get old, when you're close to death, let my consciousness always be fixed upon you, O Lord. Okay. Next number. Yeah. Vrindavan Vilasamati.
Prabhuji, a thought came to my mind when you said that the consciousness get covered. We were reading that how Lord Shiva is the greatest of the Vaishnavas. He is the greatest devotee of the Lord. then sometimes we see that, or is it just the Leela pastime? Lord Shiva fights with Krishna. Huh? So this is the example of consciousness getting covered, or it is just the pastime?
Yeah, for Lord Shiva, he's a pure devotee. There's no question of his consciousness getting covered. That we can say is a part of a Leela. Because, again, the point is made that some people, some devotees, they take shelter of Lord Shiva, and because, they worship Lord Shiva says, oh, you have worshipped me so much, okay, I will do something for you. Lord Shiva, out of his kind-heartedness, he actually reciprocates with his devotees, but in that reciprocation, sometimes he has to even fight with Lord Krishna. But he knows Lord Krishna is always my worshipable Lord. There is no question of Lord Shiva's consciousness getting covered. That's why he is the best of all devotees. Okay, 35.
Sankarshanaya sukshmaya durantayantakaya cha namo vishva prabodhaya prabdumnayantar atmane.
4:24:35. My dear Lord, you are the origin of the subtle material ingredients, the master of all integration, as well as the master of all disintegration. The predominating deity named Sankarshana, and the master of all intelligence, known as the predominating deity Pradyumna. Therefore, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Hare Krishna.
So second verse, text 34, we pray to Vasudeva. Why do we pray to Vasudeva? He is the deity controlling consciousness. Right? Therefore, we have prayed, let my consciousness become fixed. Let me not be unchanging. In spite of all transformation, let it be always connected to you. And then also we have prayed for the senses and sense objects. Let me always be pure, because our senses are used in service of the Lord. Therefore, we have prayed that. Next, he is actually praying to, you see the verse starts with Sankarshan and last line says Pradyumna. So he is praying to both Sankarshan and Pradyumna. Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Pradyumna. So Sankarshanaya Sukshmaya is actually saying, or Sankarshan, you are the presiding deity of false ego, Ahankar, right? Ahankar. And then he actually says, particularly if you see Sukshmaya or Sankarshanaya Sukshmaya. So Prabhupada explains this, you are the master of both integration and disintegration. Right? That basically means that because of Sankarshan, this material world is created, manifest, and then it is unmanifest. Right? So, yeah. Right. So, and then further, it says Duranta ya Antakaya cha. Antakaya means it is you who burn the universe by the fire from your mouth. Anta, right? End. So he's saying, oh Vasudev, you are responsible for the integration, all the elements coming together. You are responsible for disintegration by burning the universe from the fire from your mouth, right? And then he's actually saying, and then further, right? And then he's saying, oh Sankarshan. So why is he praying that way? He's saying, burn up my bond. How you burn up the universe? Please burn up my bondage of infinite attachments caused through false ego. Right? So Ahankar, because the deity of presiding Ahankar, he's saying, please purify my Ahankar and then bind my mamatva. Right? Mamatva says, bind my possessiveness unto you. Let my ego be that I am a servant of Krishna. Right? So the point here is that of ego. Right? So he's actually praying, because you are presiding deity of ego, let my ego be not false ego, but real ego. And real ego is what? Servant of the Lord. Right? So that's the first part of the verse. So just Sankarshanaya, Sukshmaya, Durantya, Antakaya cha. So that has been explained as Sankarshan as the presiding deity of false ego. So the prayer is, please purify my false ego and let it be situated in real ego as your servant. Right? And how you actually integrate and disintegrate this universe, let my bondage to the attachments of this universe all be destroyed. Now, the next line 3 and line 4, Namo Vishwa Prabodhaya Pradyumnaya Antar Atmani. Right? So here Pradyumna is the presiding deity of intelligence, Buddhi. Right? Buddhi. Prabuddhaya, right? Presiding deity of intelligence. Therefore, he's saying, "O Lord, O Pradyumna, please wake up my intelligence so that I may always be situated in bhakti." Right? So that is the next. So Vasudeva we have prayed, Sankarshan we have prayed, and Pradyumna we have prayed. Right? Okay, so here Prabhupada explains this in the purport. He says that how the whole universe is actually maintained by the integrating power of Sankarshan. So what the scientists actually say, gravity, law of gravity. What is that energy? Where is that energy coming from? That energy comes from Sankarshan. And then also when the disintegration takes place, it is the fire of the Lord that burns up the whole universe. So that is also Sankarshan. So Sankarshan is the master of integration and disintegration. Whereas Pradyumna is responsible for universal growth and maintenance. Therefore, he is praying to both. So Lord, both Pradyumna and Sankarshan. Okay. Is that okay? So we are talking about purification of the elements. First we talked about purification of Chitta, then we talked about purification of the false ego, then we talked about purification of the intelligence. Okay. Everyone? Yes? No? Okay.
Prabhuji, in the previous verse, the 6 kinds of transformations were not of the body. In the purport,
Yeah, so it can be both. So, sometimes we see Prabhupada in the purport talks of those. And here he talks of hunger, thirst, agreement, illusion, old age, death. But similar, right? Similar. Old age, death, the transformation of the body, the needs of the body. So either way, it is our consciousness should not be disturbed by all these 6 changes. Okay, 36.
Namo Namo Nirudhaya Rishikeshendriyatmane Nama Paramahamsaya Purnaya Nibritatmane.
Hare Krishna. My Lord, as the supreme directing deity known as Aniruddha, you are the master of the senses and the mind. I therefore offer my obeisances unto you again and again. You are known as Ananta as well as Sankarshana because of your ability to destroy the whole creation by the blazing fire from your mouth.
Okay. So basically you say Atmane, controller of the mind. So you say Namo Nama Aniruddha. So we offer the obeisance Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Pradyumna. Last is Aniruddha. Aniruddha is the presiding deity of the mind. Right? So we talked of consciousness, we talked of false ego, we talked of intelligence and the mind. And these are the 4 elements, right? 4 elements. Right? Consciousness, Ahankar, Buddhi and Mana. Right? Chitta, Ahankar, Buddhi, Mana. These 4 and 4 precisely. So he's actually purifying, praying that you please purify all these 4 elements so that I can serve you. Now he says in this verse, Rishikesha Indriya Atmane. You are the controller of the best. So Rishik Esha, right? The master of all the senses. What is the master of all the senses? That is the mind. Right? Therefore, you are the controller of the mind. So, this is very nice. Like, while chanting japa, our mind is so focused, right? It doesn't even go here and there. Yes? No. The mind goes everywhere except on the holy name. And then we may say like, okay, I want to focus. Is it possible for us to focus the mind? No, it is very, very difficult. But how can you focus your mind in japa? You have to pray. Oh Lord, you are the control of mind. I cannot do it, but you can do it. Please, Krishna, please. And here particularly you're saying Aniruddha. You are the presiding deity of the mind. So you please control my mind, purify my mind so that I can hear, I can taste your holy name. That's the only way you can control your mind during japa. You have to offer a prayer to Aniruddha. Ask Aniruddha, please You are the controller of my mind. Please, you take control and purify my mind. Right? Then Parama Hamsaya Purnaya Nibrita Atmane. Right? So this is interesting that Prabhupada actually explains this in the, not in the translation, but in the purport. Right? So we have purified these four elements, everyone. Chitta, Ahankar, Buddhi, Manaha. Yes? After this, Lord Shiva is going to ask for each element, each senses. He'll talk about purification of the eyes, the ears, the nose. He's going to ask for each one of that. Now, which is the presiding deity for the eye? Let's start with the eye. Is Surya. Surya. So hence, when in this verse it says Parama Hamsaya. So Prabhupada in the translation explains this, that this is also a prayer to Aniruddha. But in the purport he actually explains that Parama Hamsaya is also can refer to the sun. So when it says Purnaya Nibrita Atmane, it says that now he is offering obeisance to sun, saying that sun, you are the presiding deity of the eyes, right? Therefore it says Nibrita Atmane, right? That means your rays are all over, right? So please make my eyes pure so I can see the beauty of the Lord's form. Okay? So after purifying the four elements, now he's actually asking for purification of the eyes, and hence he's asking the presiding deity, O Sun God, you are in charge of the eyes, so you please purify my eyes. Right. So the predominating deity of the sun is the expansion of Aniruddha. Therefore, Shiva prays to the sun god, controlling deity of external material elements. When there's sufficient sunshine, the mind remains clear and transparent. Therefore, he prays to the sun god. Okay. May the eyes be purified to see the form of the Lord. Now, this word Nibrita Atmane, when you say for the sun god, it actually says that sunshine constantly, Nibrita means nourishes, Atmane means the Jiva. How does the sun god relish the Jiva? How does the sun god? Nourish the Jiva? By providing sunshine. Can we live without sunshine? No. So here is saying the sun god is nourishing every Jiva, and to this sun god I offer my obeisances. Therefore, the Nibrita Atmane. So Prabhupada says the sun god is addressed here as Nibrita Atmane, which indicates he always maintains the various planets by manipulating the rainfall. Okay, text 37.
I have a question on text 36. So in the translation, why does Prabhupada talk about Sankarshan here? Because I don't see it in the shloka.
You are known as Ananta as well as Sankarshana. So, because of your ability to destroy the whole creation. Actually, this is more from the previous verse, Isn't it from the previous verse that, it's actually from 35 that Prabhupada is actually putting the sentence here. So, it is there. Sometimes you'll see Prabhupada will add a part of the purport to the translation. And Prabhupada will elaborate something which is not there in the Sanskrit shloka, but just to complete the meaning, he will add it. Now, to complete the meaning here, because all the four personalities have been offered obeisances, he is actually saying, you are known as Ananta. And Ananta Dev is an expansion of who? Sankarshana. Therefore, Prabhupada is saying, you are, because you see, where is the Ananta coming from? Purnaya. Right? Purnaya. Parama Hamsaya Purnaya. So Prabhupada is saying, you are known as Ananta from that. And as well as Shankarshan from the previous verse, as well as Shankarshan, and because of your ability to destroy the whole creation. Right? So if you know Anantadev, right, he is holding the entire universe. And finally, when devastation happens, it's like there's fire that burns through. Where does it come from? From the mouth of Anantashesh. Right? So that's why it's talking of that destruction. But this is more from the 35 rather than 36.
Okay, thank you.
See also that, the aspect of sun god. Prabhupada doesn't talk in translation, but he explains that in the purport.
Mhm.
Right? Therefore, that translation purport both have to be studied together to get the full meaning.
Yeah.
Okay, 37.
Svargapavargadvaraya Nityam Shuchi Shade Namaha Namo Hiranyaviryaya Chaturhotraya Tantave.
Hare Krishna. Translation. O my Lord, O Aniruddha, you are the authority by which the doors of the higher planetary systems and liberation are opened. You are always within the pure heart of the living entity. Therefore, I offer my obeisances unto you. You are the possessor of semen, which is like gold, and thus in the form of fire. You help Vedic sacrifices, beginning with the Chaturhotra. Therefore, I offer my obeisances unto you. Hare Krishna.
So if you see the first two lines is actually connected to the previous verse where it says Swarga Apavarga Dwaraya Nityam Suchi Sade Namaha. Right? So my obeisances unto you, who is the most purified and who is the authority by which the doors of heaven and liberation open. So these two lines should be connected with the previous verse where it actually talks of Surya. Right? Surya, Aniruddha's expansion. So the Swarga and Aparga Dwaraya, it's actually by the mercy of Aniruddha that he opens the door for Swarga. You want Swarga, he can give Swarga. Aparga, you want liberation, he will give you liberation. Right? So connect this with the previous verse. And then in this verse, Namo Hiranya Viryaya. Hiranya Viryaya means the one who possessor of semen, which is like gold, or in other words, this is referring to the deity of fire. Right? Now, if we consider this as deity of fire, why is he praying to a deity of fire? Because Agni is the presiding deity of speech. So he's praying to the deity of fire, saying, you please purify my speech so that my words, I can always chant your glories. And not what? Not what? Chaturhotraya Tanve. I don't want to use my words to say what? Swaha, Swaha. I don't want to do Swaha, that Chaturhotra things. No. I want to purify my speech just so that it always says Hare Krishna, it chants the glories, it recites Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay? So that is the prayer here. Okay, so Prabhupada talks about karma kandi activities, the three modes of material nature, how Bhagavad Gita says Traigunya Vishaya Veda. So we don't want to use our tongue to chant all these karma kandiya mantras. We want our speech to only glorify Krishna. Therefore, he is praying to Hiranya Vidyaya, the presiding deity of speech, which is Agni. Yes? No? So, what is the sequence? First, what did Shiva pray for? First, you say Jai and you pray for what? The first thing Lord Shiva prayed for.
Purify the chitta.
Vasudeva, to purify the
Chitta.
Before Chitta, what was the first?
Pankajanabhaya.
Vasudeva.
Okay, Pankajanabhaya is there. Before that, 33 is what? Purification of? First is he says Jai and he says, let me have auspiciousness. Right? Auspiciousness. He starts off with auspiciousness. Swastir astume. Let you always be auspicious to me. And that is basically the point where we actually talked about when he's actually saying, let me actually relish your sweet qualities. Right? Let everything be auspicious upon me. Then after that, purification of. So after auspiciousness, he's praying to
Vasudeva,
right? And that is
for
precisely
consciousness.
of Chitta. Yes, consciousness. Okay, next. And what do we want our consciousness to do? Arundhati Mata, you can continue. What do you want our consciousness? Why are you praying?
Consciousness is always pure, but it is covered by the contaminated senses. So we are praying to purify our senses so that our consciousness, you will get the pure consciousness.
Yeah. So you praying the senses are purified, so our consciousness is unchanging.
Unchanged,
There's
yeah.
always Krishna consciousness. Yeah. Okay, so next after Chitta, then next. So we pray to Vasudeva already for purification of consciousness. Next we pray to
Sankarshana,
Sankarshana, and he is the presiding deity of
false, like ego,
ego. And why are we praying to him?
so that our false ego will be in the true ego state.
In the true ego. And what is that? We be fixed in bhakti. Right?
Bhakti.
Real ego. Right? Then next is
Pradyumna.
Pradyumna, and
But he's the presiding deity of Buddhi, intelligence.
intelligence. And what are we praying?
So give me intelligence to stay in bhakti.
Yes, give me intelligence to stay in bhakti. Right? And the last one is
Aniruddha.
And we pray to him that.
So he purifies our senses.
Yeah, Aniruddha.
The mind, senses and the mind.
Yeah. So when you say Indriya, Rishikesha Indriya, Indriya means senses, Rishikesha means the master of all senses. Which is the master of all senses? The mind.
Mind.
So hence we are praying to Aniruddha that you please purify our mind. Right? And after this purification, then we want to purify each one of our senses. Then we pray to whom? Suryadev, right? Who is an expansion of Aniruddha. And we pray to Suryadev that you please purify my eyes so that my eyes can always take darshan of Shri Radha Golokananda. In that way, right? Purify my eyes, right? And then after that we pray next, purify my speech. So that my speech does not speak of Karma Kandra mantras. My speech only speaks of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, speaks of Srimad Bhagavatam, speaks of your glories, right? So in that way, like he is purifying each aspect of his existence so that every aspect of his existence can be engaged in devotion to the Lord. Okay? Okay, so we'll continue maybe next time further. Text number 38.
Same in this Shloka 37, he says, My Lord, O Aniruddha, you are the authority by which the doors of the higher planetary systems and liberation are open. But we heard it was Surya, right? So, Surya is an expansion of Aniruddha?
Yeah, Surya's expansion of Aniruddha.
Okay.
Right? Okay, everyone? So is your consciousness, is your ahankar, is your buddhi, is your mind, is your eyes, and is your speech all purified?
I don't know about that, but
It's Hare Krishna mantra.
this, when you said that we will continue next time, a sinking feeling came that we should continue. Why we are stopping it?
Yeah, because we still have to purify our tongue, right? We already talked of other purification, but we have to purify our taste. Then we will purify the air, the sound, the earth. So each element as a prayer to purify are complete. So the subtle, we started from the consciousness, we came to ahankar, then we came to buddhi, then we came to mind, then we'll go to earth, water, fire, air, ether. Every element, our subtle body, our gross body, completely pure by these prayers of Rudra Gita. And once it's all pure, then what we'll do? We'll engage in Sarvapadi Vinirmuktam Tat Paritena Nirmalam. All our senses, everything will become Nirmala. Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam. Then every sense can be engaged in service of. Can you serve the Lord with impure senses? Can you serve the Lord with impure mind? Can you serve the Lord with impure intelligence? No, we have to purify everything. Then it is real bhakti. So hence Rudra is praying for all purification. And then after that, after all the purification, then he will describe the beautiful form of the Lord. The meditation on the form of the Lord. So it's very nice. He'll give the whole description of the form of the Lord. So many verses on meditation on each aspect, the limbs of the Lord, the chest of the Lord. Each aspect will be meditated on. And then finally he'll come about what should be, how devotion is the highest, and how really all we want is to be in the association of devotees. So it's very beautiful prayers of Rudra Gita. Okay? So thank you all so much. So we'll stop here. Granthashram Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. We'll continue next week. Any final comments, realizations, any points? Actually, it's very interesting that yes, Gopinath.
No, it was a question, Rohit. So 37, we mentioned about Agni. How is that in relation to Aniruddha? Is that
In
referring
relation to what, bro?
Aniruddha?
Yeah, actually, Aniruddha is the master of all the senses, actually. Right? And then we have said Aniruddha as the mind, and then each one of the senses is all repeated Aniruddha itself. So Aniruddha as the master of all the senses, starting with the mind and each sense, actually. So Prabhupada again and again, he just talks of Aniruddha as long as we are talking of all the senses, the eyes, the speech, the tongue, everything, he just mentions Aniruddha as the main deity for that.
Thank you.
Guruji, I like the point that when the mantra is chanted by the great devotee, it becomes more powerful. And we experience that when we chant in the association of devotees, it is different.
Yeah, I mean, you go to Sadhu Sangha retreat. I mean, so powerful. All these pure devotees chanting, and then it's like you're just in like bliss, and you may not experience so much. I mean, you should always keep chanting, but when it's like the more pure the devotee is, more powerful the mantra. More purity, more power in the mantra.
And that's how you started the class. That how the yagna needs this Sankirtan yagna should go continuously without stop.
Yeah, without stop. Yes, very nice. Okay.
And Prabhuji, I like the definition of auspiciousness. You said real well-being of all human beings. That is Krishna consciousness.
Yeah, actually, I can.
I'm nodding.
Yeah, I will give you more precise, Mati. In Nectar of Devotion, Rupa Goswami gives three. Let me see if I can pull that up. Three definitions of auspiciousness.
Yeah, that would be nice.
You know that?
I know, I need to check, Prabhuji. I don't remember on the top of my head.
Let me see. Was
that? Give me attraction to your sweet qualities.
Yes. Attraction to
Yeah.
all your sweet qualities. That's one.
Yeah. No, but Rupa Goswami does not give that one. But that's what Vishwan Chakra Thakur is actually explained. Auspiciousness means attraction to your sweet qualities. And you have, I cannot see it now. But it's there in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. If you actually see. Oh, yeah, Shubhada. Yes, I found it.
Shubhada, yes.
So he says auspiciousness means three things. One, actually four points he mentions. First is it should benefit everyone. Second, it should attract everyone. Third, it should produce good qualities. And fourth, it should bestow the highest kind of happiness. So auspiciousness means something that would benefit everyone. Is there one thing that will benefit everyone? Only Krishna consciousness. And you can say, okay, I'm doing some activity. Yes, it's beneficial to this group of people. But is there anything that by doing, everyone will get benefited? The plants, the trees, the bugs, everyone will get benefited. That is only Krishna consciousness. So benefits everyone. Second, everyone will get attracted to it. And it's only Krishna consciousness which is attracted to everyone. So auspiciousness means beneficial for everyone, attractive to everyone. Third, it produces good qualities. When you do an activity which is auspiciousness, it actually brings out the good qualities in you. And in relationship to this, Rupa Goswami quotes that verse from the 5th canto, Yasyasti Bhagavati Bhagavat Akinchana Sarver Gunes Tatra Samasate. All good qualities of a demigod manifest in one who actually engages in devotion, bhakti. Right? So, produce good qualities. And fourth, it gives the superior happiness. So, any activity which you can say, gives all these four, that is really auspicious. And devotional service meets all four of these criteria. No other practice can claim to have all these four. Therefore, bhakti, therefore, devotion is the only auspicious activity. Okay, got it? 4 points. This is that in the first chapter of NOD actually. Shubhada. Okay. Any other points? Good. Okay. Thank you all so much. So we'll end here. Vanchakalpatarubhyasya kripa
Sindhubhya vachanapatitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
Thank you all so much for your association. So we'll continue next week with more of our purification. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so
Very,
much,
very
Prabhuji.
interesting. Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you,
Thank
Prabhuji.
you.
Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji and Mataji. Hare